bad thing on this video in particular. With this video, we're just going to talk about what the cards are that they spoiled, what's coming to Magic the Gathering, and if they're nailing the flavor. So we're going to dive right in. Before we do, please like the video. It helps me get the video up to so many more people. It helps the channel grow, and I greatly appreciate that. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. We're going to stay on top of spoilers as they come out. I'm going to get all the new stuff to you guys as soon as I possibly can, and some cool deck techs are on the way as well if you're into that. So let's dive right in. First of all, we saw the basic lands spoiled, and who would have guessed it, but they are pizza lands. And here we see the plains, which has, I think, onions and a banana in the symbol of the sun for the plains. And then we have island with an onion for sure. And then we have swamp with the mushroom, which is actually kind of clever because the mushroom sort of looks like the skull anyway, right? And then mountains, we have a pepperoni there with the mountain symbol, the fire symbol, and then forest is a piece of broccoli. But we also saw a new token coming in this set, and that is the mutagen token. Token artifact, pay 1, tap it, sacrifice it, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, activate only as a sorcery. If they're making a token, there's probably a good number of cards coming in this set, both in the standard legal version of the set and in the commander cards, that use this mechanic that give us mutagen tokens, and this is no big surprise. We've seen a bunch of artifact tokens like this. It seems like every set these days spits out a new variety, and mutagen just kind of makes sense for the Ninja Turtles. The fact that it hands out +1/+1 counters is kind of cool too, because there's a bunch of stuff in standard right now that actually cares about +1/+1 counters. In fact, Genova turns things into mutants, Genova from the Final Fantasy set, so there are things that care about mutants as well, and I wonder if we're gonna see like a Genova Ninja Turtles crazy deck in standard after this set comes out. I'm getting way ahead of myself, but it's interesting to think about. So before we get to the standard legal cards, I am gonna quickly go over all of the commander cards that are coming. First off, we have Leonardo the Balance, a 3/3 legendary mutant ninja turtle for 1 white and 3. Whenever a token you control enters, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Do this only once each turn. So just make any token at all and everything gets a counter. Pretty cool. You can also pay a Wooburg, 1 of each color mana, total of 5 mana. Creatures you control gain Menace, Trample, and Lifelink until end of turn. And then he also has Partner Character Select, which honestly is the most interesting part of these commander cards that we're going to look at, because you can essentially partner this card with any of the other character select partners, which makes sense because there's 4 Ninja Turtles, and being able to use all 4 as one commander would be way overkill, but being able to mix and match the Ninja Turtles so that you can put any one of your favorites with any other one of your favorites and run them both as, you know, a tag team partner commander in the commander format does seem pretty cool and makes sense. And honestly, I feel like they probably worked out this mechanic for Ninja Turtles before they did something similar with the PlayStation collaboration. And if you haven't seen those cards that we covered, they have a bunch of cards coming to Secret Lair that are specifically unique cards, mechanically unique cards. They're not reskins, that are for different characters from PlayStation franchises, and they have a similar mechanic where it partners, I believe it's the Last of Us cards, partner with survivors, and so you can mix and match 4 different cards that have the partner survivors mechanic. If I was a betting man, I would think they came up with Partner Character Select first for the Ninja Turtles, and then thought how they could translate that to some of the other stuff that they're doing. Because with the Ninja Turtles, you absolutely have to do something like that, right? You have the 4 Ninja Turtles, it's all about them teaming up, you have to find a way to make it work. But as far as this card in particular, I think it's pretty powerful, it's interesting. If you run this as your commander, you're going to be playing all 5 colors because it has 5 colors in its text box, which is interesting. Are all of the Ninja Turtle commander decks going to be 5 colors? That seems kind of crazy. But power level wise, getting to put a counter on every single creature, you just make a token every turn, beef up your creatures every single turn, and then eventually just give them all of the keywords ever and attack everybody for the win. Seems pretty cool. Next up, we've got Donatello the Brains. Again, also has partner character select, but Donatello is a 2/4 legendary mutant ninja turtle for 1 blue and 2. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus a mutagen token are created instead. So you get a free mutagen token every time you make tokens. Seems to pair decently well with Leonardo because of that. It remains to be seen just how relevant that ends up being. I'm assuming there are a bunch of cards coming in the set, both the standard legal and the commander version of the set, that are going to tap into these token synergies and even the mutagen synergies. So it's really hard to know how much this matters until we see the rest of those cards. But it is nice to see that Donatello has some synergy with Leonardo right out of the gate. Next up, we've got Michelangelo the Heart, a 2/1 legendary mutant ninja turtle with trample for 1 green and 1. And he has raid, in parentheses, the fridge, I guess. At the beginning of your second main phase, if you attacked this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and create a food token. And again, he has partner character select, so you can mix and match. So basically, every turn, as long as you attack, you just get a free +1/+1 counter on a creature and you get a food token. So he's delving into both synergies. He's got the +1/+1 counter synergies that match up with the mutagen tokens, so that if you have anything in your deck that, you know, synergizes with +1/+1 counters, both of those things are going to be relevant with Michelangelo. But he also creates a food token, which is a token which can trigger some of the other synergies that we've already seen, giving us double tokens for Donatello, or, you know, giving us an additional token with or +1/+1 counters with Leonardo, like we saw with his card. So some interesting synergies they're doing with these commanders in particular, which I guess makes sense. And if they're gonna do Ninja Turtles, at least they're gonna get the vibes right, I feel, at least as far as the cards we've seen so far. And last but not least, we have Raphael the Muscle, a 4/4 legendary mutant ninja turtle for 1 red and 4. Double all damage that creatures you control with counters on them would deal, and when Raphael enters, create a mutagen token. Also, again, partner character select. So again, we're seeing ways in which Raphael has multiple synergies with different Ninja Turtles. All of the +1/+1 counters that we saw coming from mutagen tokens, or some of the other abilities like Leonardo's ability, can allow you to turn on this double all damage ability for your creatures, which is really cool. But also, when he enters, you just get a mutagen token, which can work with some of the other synergies, get you double tokens, or get extra triggers, that sort of thing. So there's actually a lot going on here, a lot of different ways to synergize, and it'll be interesting to see like which of these pairs end up being the preferred pairs if people play this as their commanders. So pretty cool, but we're not done with the commander cards just yet. Those are the 4 base Ninja Turtles coming to commander. We've also got Splinter the Mentor, a 2/2 legendary mutant ninja rat with menace for 1 black and 1. And whenever Splinter or another non-token creature you control leaves the battlefield, you get to create a mutagen token. And again, he also has partner character select. So now there's even more things to consider, not just the 4 turtles and which 2 you should pair together, but should you pair one of them with Splinter? Hard to say. I think it's going to take some experimenting to see really which of these combinations is best. But Splinter himself seems pretty on point as far as theme. The ability is really cool. Just anytime something dies, not even if it dies, if it leaves the battlefield, you could use things like Nurturing Pixie to like pick up a non-token creature, and it will trigger this and give you a mutagen token. So there are some interesting ways to take advantage of this synergy, but just having a 2/2 menace body for 2 is also kind of cool and makes sense as far as a ninja. Will you want to use this in a rat tribal deck? Hard to say, but the potential is there. Next up, we've got Heroes in a Half Shell. If you are not going to settle for pairing 2 of the Ninja Turtles together as your commander, just use this, and you sort of have all of them together as one commander. This is all 4 turtles as one card. A 5/5 legendary mutant ninja turtle for 5 mana in the colors of every Wooburg, right? It's 5/5, Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Haste for 5, and whenever one or more mutants, ninjas, and or turtles you control deal combat damage to a player, you put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures and draw a card. So even more synergies pairing with the stuff that cares about +1/+1 counters. But what's really cool about this card is the fact that you can use it as a commander for multiple types of decks. You could make a mutant tribal deck where this is the commander and maybe you're running something like Genova. You could make a ninja tribal deck where this is the commander and you're running a bunch of ninjas, ninjutsu, that sort of thing. Or you could just maybe make a turtle deck. Probably the best use is going to be a combination of 2 or 3 of those, just making an actual Ninja Turtle deck with a bunch of the other cards coming in this set. But this is a pretty good card if you don't want to settle for only running 2 of the Ninja Turtles as your commander. Although you could just stick the rest of them in the deck, right, since it is a 5-color deck. Either way, if you're going to put your foot down and you're going to make sure you play all 4 as your commander, this is the way to do it. Next up, we see one of the bonus sheet cards. This is a Dark Ritual reskinned with some Splinter art here. It looks like he's using a cookbook, an ancient Chinese ritual, if you will, to make a pizza, which is actually, I believe Splinter was Japanese, right? Is it Japanese or Chinese? I think it's Japanese. I can't remember. It's been too long since I've watched the movies. The original movies are my favorite. But I think I'm gonna have to rewatch them. If you guys know, let me know. Let me know in the comments, because I just can't remember. But Dark Ritual, reskinned with Splinter making a pizza, seems kind of interesting. Esposito, my liege, grant me the flavor I am due. Splinter the Nibblemancer. Hilarious. And one more of these bonus sheet cards here. We've got a reskinned Doubling Season. We can see all of the turtles. This is iconic art from, I believe, one of the comic books. I don't remember exactly which one. What's cool about the Ninja Turtles is there are different art styles for the Ninja Turtles over the years, whether it's comics, cartoons, or the live-action movies. And I'm pretty sure all of those different styles are going to be represented to some extent within this set. The next thing I want to talk about really quick before we get to the standard legal cards is they're doing a special PvE, like, co-op 4-player experience. Well, technically 2 to 4 players, where it's all 4 players, up to 4 players, against a boss battle deck. So we're going to take a look at some of the cards that are coming in that. We've got Baxter, Experimental Scientist, a boss that has the ability creatures named Foot Disciple have flying. So before we get too deep into these cards, I just want to point out we don't exactly know how this product is going to work. It is a box set. It includes 4 different decks, one themed around each turtle. Those are pre-constructed decks. It also includes 4 bonus packs. So each player could open a pack and maybe add some of those cards into their deck if they wanted. And then you have like a I believe it's a 39 card. I think it's 39 cards. A 39 card boss deck, of which these cards are going to be a part. I assume some other types of cards that we haven't seen yet are going to be a part of that boss deck as well. And we don't have the official rules to how exactly this mode works, but the basic gist is, you know, all 4 players grab one of the turtle decks and you play against this boss deck, and it will sort of be a PvE experience where it's the players playing against the deck itself. They're not playing against another player. So it sort of reminds me of that other format that we got in Duskmorn, if you remember that, with the special cards. Kind of like that, except in that set we were playing against one player who was like the end-all be-all that we had to defeat, right? In this, it seems like we're not playing against a player. All the players are playing against a deck. We just don't know mechanically how that works yet, but we do have our first look at some of the cards, so we're briefly going to go over them. We've got Baxter here. We've also got Krang, Dimension X Overlord, which is a boss. The bosses play an additional card each turn, and at the start of the boss turn, the bosses lose 2 life. I get the impression that maybe like once a turn you get to flip over one of these boss cards, and so the longer the game goes on, the stronger the boss's side gets, the harder it is for you as a team to defeat the boss. That's just a guess, and I'm assuming there's going to be some other cards in play other than these boss cards. But we've also got Rat King the Chaos Bringer, another boss. Ninjas the boss's control have Death Touch, which seems kind of interesting. So if there is a boss that can control the ninjas, then maybe there is a 5th player potentially that plays the deck. from all the information I could gather on this, it seemed like all of the players were teaming up against like a non-existent opponent, and you're playing against just the deck itself. But maybe there is the potential to make one of the players like the big bad and you're playing against them. Once we have the full details on this mode and what comes in it and how exactly it plays out, I'll probably make another video updating you guys on that. But it's an interesting concept. We've also got this last one here, Shredder, Foot Clan Overlord, another boss. Whenever a creature the boss's control dies, the heroes lose 1 life. In addition to these boss deck cards, we also have some unique cards coming specifically to this box set that you can only get in this box set. It's going to include, the box set's going to include a bunch of cards that are from the standard legal set. I think it's going to include cards that are also from the commander legal stuff, the eternal legal stuff, but it has these unique cards that you can only get in the box set, and these are also eternal legal, just like the commander cards. So first of all, we have a version of Leonardo here, Leonardo Worldly Warrior, a 5/5 legendary mutant ninja turtle for 1 white and 7. He has double strike, and he costs 1 less to cast for each creature you control. So go wide with a whole bunch of token creatures really quick, and all of a sudden you get a 5/5 double striker for just 1 white mana. In the right deck, that could be really, really nuts. I'm excited to see if this ends up viable. I wish this was standard legal, because I think a card like this would be really fun to try to build into like a standard Convoke deck or something like that. Next up, we've got Donatello Rad Scientist, a 5/6 legendary mutant ninja turtle with vigilance for 1 blue and 5. And when he enters, you tap up to 3 target creatures your opponents control and put a stun counter on each of them. A little bit overcosted for what you're getting, but it will absolutely, you know, devastate board situations if you play it at the right point in time, which is pretty cool. And again, these cards are meant to be used in a co-op PvE experience, so you gotta kind of gauge them with that in mind. And since we don't know exactly the full details on how it's gonna work yet, it's a little bit tricky to do that. We also have Michelangelo on the scene, a 2/2 legendary mutant ninja turtle with trample for 2 green and 4, which is really expensive, but there's a reason for that. Michelangelo enters with a +1/+1 counter on him for each land you control. Now I wonder, since it's a team up mode, if it'll count all of your opponent's lands, or I guess not your opponent's, your teammates' lands as well. I'm 99% sure it doesn't. But it does feel like a little bit of a missed opportunity if these cards were designed for a mode like that in particular. He also has this ability: when Michelangelo dies, you just get to return him to your hand. So that does make him a little bit better than he otherwise would be. He scales. If you just have 6 lands out organically, it's like turn 6 or something, he comes down as an 8/8 trample, and when he dies, he comes back and you just replay him. Kind of feels a little bit like a commander, even though you're not playing commander in a way, which is kind of cool. I do think this guy is better than Donatello, but nowhere near as good as the Leonardo we saw. That Leonardo, the potential to play it for just 1 mana is kind of nuts, but Michelangelo's pretty cool here. Next up, we've got Raphael Tag Team Tough, a 5/6 legendary mutant ninja turtle with menace for 2 red and 4, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player for the first time each turn, you untap all attacking creatures. After this combat phase, there's an additional combat phase. So yeah, this is kind of like the win condition. If you play the deck that has Raphael and you jam out Raphael, you're probably winning that turn, or at least trying to. Although Raphael itself has to deal combat damage in order to get the untap, right? So you're gonna have to play it, have him survive an entire turn cycle, have it get back to you, and then attack before you can trigger a second combat phase. And you can't just like hold Raphael back and keep him safe and just attack with everything else to trigger it. Sometimes you get cards like that where Raphael itself wouldn't need to attack, but in this case with this specific card, Raphael itself needs to deal combat damage to the player in order to unlock that second combat phase. So that can be a little bit tricky, although the menace does help. Still pretty interesting card, especially when you consider it's meant to be in this PvE bundle experience. We've also got another card that they showed off as an exclusive to that bundle, Donnie and April Adorkable Duo. Kind of interesting, a 3/3 mutant ninja human turtle for 1 blue and 4, so it's just all of the creature types. And whenever Donnie and April enter, you choose one or both. Each mode must target a different player. Target player draws 2 cards. Target player returns an artifact, instant, or sorcery card from their graveyard to their hand. So this is a really good example of how this boxed set is meant to be a PvE experience, where if you were playing one-on-one or even an everyman for themselves sort of commander game, this wouldn't be nearly as good because you have to target someone other than yourself to get value. But in a PvE mode where, you know, you're teaming up with the players, being able to choose someone to draw 2 cards and someone else to get an artifact, instant, or sorcery back is actually kind of cool. So I like that they're kind of delving into mechanics like that just work better in that game mode, in a PvE style game mode, for these unique cards that are coming with that. But it's time to dig into the standard legal cards, and here's where things get crazy. We get our look into what they're envisioning standard moving into early next year. So first off, we have our only uncommon spoiled, and that's Casey Jones' Jury Rig Justicar, a 2/1 legendary human berserker with haste for 1 red and 1. And when he enters, you look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This guy's pretty cool. He's not super powerful. 2/1 haste for 2. And grabs a card to replace himself off the top 4 when you play him. You do need to play him in the right kind of deck in order to get that value, though. Flavor-wise, I think this guy is super spot on. First of all, being a human berserker in particular, just makes sense for Casey Jones' character. But also the fact that he can find an artifact is kind of a symbol of the fact that he always uses these different sports things that are relevant to sports, like baseball bats and hockey sticks and cricket bats. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. He's looking for, you know, his hockey stick. He's looking for something he can use as a weapon, which just theme-wise, feel-wise, vibe-wise feels really cool for him. But mechanically, you know, you probably want to use him in an equipment deck anyway, but at the very least, you definitely want to use him in an artifact deck so that he can grab whatever artifact. And even if you're not in an equipment deck, he seems like he could be kind of cool just in an artifact deck, and some of the artifact decks that are in standard these days are kind of nuts and kind of semi-busted. Simulacrum Synthesizer, I'm looking at you, so this could be pretty cool. Next up, we've got April O'Neil Hacktivist, a 1/5 legendary human scientist for 1 blue and 3. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card for each card type among spells you've cast this turn. Kind of interesting. I feel like it's a little expensive and has a bit too many hoops to jump through to be really competitive in standard. That being said, it does have a lot of potential power packed into it. The floor is a little rough, having to come up with a card of each card type every single turn to get multiple draws off of her, but the ceiling is insane. If you can cast a whole bunch of different card types each turn, you're basically cantripping all of them, refilling your hand for each card type among spells you've cast this turn. You know where this gets really crazy? If you cast something that has multiple types, like an artifact creature or an enchantment creature, something like that, you're going to get to draw multiple cards off of just casting one spell, which honestly does make her a bit more powerful. That's, I think, where the 4 mana costs come from. It'll be interesting to see if this ends up actually being competitive or not. The fact that it's 4 has me a little bit hesitant to say it will, but the potential to draw a ton of cards every single turn off that ability doesn't completely take her out of the running for being something competitive viable. Next up, we've got Turtles Forever, an instant for 1 white and 3. Search your library and or outside the game for exactly 4 legendary creature cards you own with different names, then reveal those cards. An opponent chooses 2 of them, put the chosen cards into your hand, and shuffle the rest into your library. What's crazy about this card is it's going to be standard legal and it can search outside the game, which means this thing can find legendary creatures from your sideboard and put them into your hand, right? The rest gets shuffled into your library, which is kind of cool. So you could find 4 different cards in your sideboard, and your opponent would pick 2 to go to your hand, and the other 2 would still go into your deck, which could be a downside, but it could also be an upside. There's got to be a way to break this. If you guys have ideas about how to take advantage of this and break it, let me know in the comments. There has to be some way to take advantage of this. Sure, your opponent gets to choose 2 of them to go into your hand. You don't get to choose which ones go to your hand. But if you have at least 3 different legendary creatures that kind of fulfill the same function, he would have to put at least one of them into your hand, right? So there are definitely ways to get around that. I think the other part that's exciting about this is we know that the set coming right after this is Secrets of Strixhaven. We're going back to Strixhaven, and the first time we went to Strixhaven, it utilized a learn lesson mechanic. We already know lessons are coming back in the Avatar: The Last Airbender set that's coming as the last set released in 2025. So we aren't getting learn spells, but maybe there are learn spells coming in Strixhaven that can utilize the lesson spells that we're getting in Avatar: The Last Airbender. And if that's the case, that's another way to access our sideboard in a best of 1 game, or even just in game 1 before we go to sideboards. So is this a trend? Are we seeing like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set giving us a way to pull something out of our sideboard, and maybe that trend is going to continue with Secrets of Strixhaven, and we'll have more learn spells to pull things out of our sideboard, and maybe this is showing just more of an emphasis in general for standard legal cards in sets, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Strixhaven, and beyond, potentially doing more and more of the fetching things from the sideboard or out of the game sort of mechanics. Hard to say right now, but we do know that later on next year we're getting Fractured Reality, which is going to be a set that's supposed to like really kind of turn the game upside down. It's doing some things mechanically that they almost thought wouldn't work, and they had to really try hard to make it work. Them saying how crazy that set's going to be and how it's going to turn Magic, you know, upside down, combined with the fact that we're seeing cards from potentially multiple sets digging into outside the game, makes me wonder if there's some crazy new outside the game mechanic coming in that set in Fractured Reality, and Turtles Forever is just a card that's kind of laying some of the groundwork leading into that. Sort of how like they gave us a new Atraxa that cared about battle cards that have the battle type before we ever got a battle card. They usually kind of hint at some of what's coming down the line mechanically with a few cards in the sets preceding. So they did that with Atraxa. Maybe they're doing that with Turtles Forever, and maybe learn spells coming in Strixhaven. It'll be interesting to see where this goes, but I'm going down a rabbit hole, so let's get back on track and check out the next card. Next up, we've got Raphael's Technique, an instant for 2 red and 4, and it has the Sneak ability for 1 green and 2. You may cast this spell for 1 red and 2. You may cast this spell for 1 red and 2 if you also return an unblocked attacker you control to hand during the Declare Blocker step. Each player may discard their hand and draw 7 cards, which is kind of crazy. If you choose to do it, you have to discard your hand, and then you have to draw the 7 cards, but each player gets to choose whether or not they do it. Kind of feels a little bit like a Wheel of Fortune or a Time Twister, but a little bit of a twist. The fact that it can only cost 3 mana is kind of nuts. Now, on first inspection, it kind of looks like Sneak is exactly like Ninjutsu, but it is functionally kind of different in 2 very important ways. First of all, when you cast something for its sneak cost, you're actually casting the spell. With Ninjutsu would work the same way. You return an unblocked attacker to your hand to put out the thing with Ninjutsu, except it just puts it straight onto the battlefield, right? With Sneak, you're not just putting it onto the battlefield, you're actually casting the spell, which means it's going to trigger anything that triggers off casting a spell, and it's also going to be counterable since it's a cast spell. It's not just being put out there, which used to be uncounterable for things like Ninjutsu. So, Sneak being counterable, that's another caveat that you need to keep in mind. The other thing that's important about Sneak that's different from Ninjutsu is if Sneak's on a creature, that creature's not coming out attacking in place of the thing that you returned. You're returning an unblocked attacker that now doesn't get to do damage, and even if the thing that you cast with the Sneak ability is a creature, it's not attacking in its place. So it's not getting through for damage. You're not like sneaking it in for combat damage, you're just sneaking it into play. But even though that seems kind of like it's down powered from ninjutsu, what's great about that is if they down power ninjutsu, if they down power into this sneak ability, they're able to make the cards with sneak more powerful to make up for the fact that you're not getting some of those advantages of ninjutsu when you're using sneak cost rather than ninjutsu. So you can expect to see some of these sneak cards to be more powerful than they otherwise would be if they had ninjutsu instead of sneak, which is really interesting. I'm excited to see what else comes out with the sneak ability, what more cards are coming. And just to see like how deep they decided to go with this mechanic. But this card in particular, potentially being able to cast it for only 3 mana, and redrawing an entire hand, discarding a bunch of stuff, which could be nuts in Reanimator, it could be nuts in like Mayhem or Madness decks. Like, there's a lot of potential for a card like this, and there's a lot of potential for the sneak mechanic in particular. Next up, we've got Bebop and Rocksteady, a 7/5 legendary Boar Rhino mutant for 3 mana in the colors of Golgari. It's hybrid mana, so you don't need to be in green or black. You can be in one or the other, which is nice, a little bit of versatility. But also, whenever Bebop and Rocksteady attack or block, you have to sacrifice a permanent unless you discard a card. And for the most part, that's a downside, but I mean, it's a 7/5 for 3 mana. What do you want, right? That's insane rate, so it makes sense that they'd have a downside like this. Whenever they attack or block, you have to sack something or discard a card. That being said, you can turn this downside into an upside. You can be playing a Mayhem deck and have the thing that you discarded be able to be played from the graveyard after you discard it. And that turns the downside on Bebop and Rocksteady into an upside, which is kind of awesome. You could also be in like a sacrifice style deck or an aristocrat style deck so that you want to be sacrificing things, and being able to sacrifice something without having to pay mana for the sacrifice, sort of a free sacrifice outlet to trigger your sacrifice synergies, could be good as well. So I do think in the right deck, this card could be kind of nuts. An absolutely huge body for 3 mana that helps you turn on certain synergies. You just gotta build the right deck around it, which is pretty cool. Next up, we've got Krang Mastermind, a 1/4 legendary artifact creature, Utrom Warrior, for 2 blue and 6, which seems like a lot, except Krang has affinity for artifacts. The affinity for artifacts deck is getting even more gas. It's already got almost enough gas in standard to exist in the meta right now. I actually have an affinity for artifacts decks that I've been tinkering with, and it's already kind of good between some of the stuff we got in Final Fantasy and some of the other sets. Krang's gonna get even crazier. Comes down as a 1/4 for potentially as low as 2 mana, counts as an artifact to turn on all of your other artifact synergies, and when Krang enters, if you have fewer than 4 cards in hand, you draw cards equal to the difference. So he could, if he's your last card in your hand, just draw you 4 cards for 2 blue mana, which is nuts. And Affinity kind of wants that, right? You just vomit out your whole hand, put every artifact you have onto the battlefield, play out all of your crazy Affinity cards that are now super cheap because of it. Now your hand's empty, slam the Krang for only 2 mana, redraw 4 cards, start playing all that stuff for free because of Affinity. It could get absolutely insane. But then it gets even better because Krang gets +1/+0 for each other artifact you control. I think this is probably one of the better cards we've seen for Standard coming out of this set so far, and I think this card actually has a place competitively. I think the affinity for artifact decks is gonna be nuts. Like, having like 8 artifacts on the field, dropping this guy for only 2 mana, drawing 4 cards, and having him be like a 9/4, and then possibly playing the 4 cards you drew for free and buffing him up to being a 13/4. Maybe you just fling him and win. Everything that he does is awesome. This card is going to be absolutely bananas for artifact decks, especially an affinity for artifact style deck. I'm excited to see what people brew with this guy. I think he's got a lot of potential. And last but not least, wait, this isn't the last actually. There's a couple more cards. Yeah, there's a couple more cards. But we're on to the Mythics. This is Leonardo Sewer Samurai, a 3/3 legendary mutant ninja turtle samurai for 1 white and 3. He's got double strike. He's got sneak for 2 white and 2. Which is already kind of good, right? It's weird that his sneak cost is a little bit more expensive than his normal cost, but we'll get to that in a minute. During your turn, you may cast a creature spell with power or toughness 1 or less from your graveyard. If you cast a spell this way, that creature enters with a finality counter on it. So every single turn... Wait a minute. You may cast a creature... It's not even limited to 1? It's not even limited to 1? You can cast just as many things as you want with power or toughness 1 from your graveyard. They all enter with finality counters. But maybe you play a flicker deck, you replay everything, you flicker them all, they lose their finality counters, you sacrifice them to trigger sacrifice synergies, and then you replay them all, rinse and repeat. That's probably a bit too ambitious and a little too cute. But there's got to be ways to break this. This feels kind of like Lurrus on crack. The thing that's cool about this too is it's not limited to creatures that are very cheap to cast. Like, you can only bring back 1-drops. A lot of 1-drops will have toughness or power 1, and you can replay them with this ability. But, I mean, if you have like a 7-1, if you have a Ball Lightning in your graveyard, you could keep replaying Ball Lightning over and over, 6-1 Trample Haste, swing with a Ball Lightning every single turn. Well, maybe not every turn, because it would sacrifice itself, and because of the finality counter, it would get exiled. But you could play a Ball Lightning twice. And if you have a way to get rid of the finality counters, maybe some flicker shenanigans like we talked about, you could potentially do it every single turn. It just remains to be seen whether that's too many hoops to jump through to actually be worth it. But this card seems nuts to me. 4 mana for a 3/3 double strike already has decent board presence. Being able to just replay all of your power toughness 1 creatures every single turn just seems kind of bananas. The sneak ability is where things get interesting. So to circle back to that, why would you play it for its sneak ability if it costs the same? And in fact, it's sort of a little bit more expensive in a way because it does have a higher color requirement to play its sneak ability. And I would say specifically if you're playing some sort of like a Nurturing Pixie style deck or some kind of a deck where you want to be returning things to your hand to get value when you replay them. So, you know, being able to attack in and then return that thing to your hand so that you can replay it might make sense. Also, you can play this at a time when it normally wouldn't be able to be played for its sneak, right? You play things with their sneak ability during the declare blockers step. So maybe if you want to, for some reason, play it in the middle of combat with different timing than you'd normally be required to play it with, not during your main phase. I can't really think of a reason you'd want to do that, but I mean, maybe there is. It's possible. It'll be really interesting to see why we want to use this sneak ability, because it is worth pointing out you have to attack with a creature in order to sneak it. So the thing that you're returning, you're putting it at risk by attacking. And if it's a utility creature that gets an enters the battlefield ability and that's why you want to return it, usually those creatures aren't the greatest at attacking, and you're kind of putting those creatures at risk in order to attack with them. So I don't know. I don't really see exactly where they're going with the sneak ability on this card, but I'm sure they have something in mind, and it might involve cards that we haven't seen yet, mechanics we haven't seen yet, so excited to see where the heck they're going with this. But even just that other ability on a 3/3 double striker, honestly kind of nuts for 4 mana. And here we have a really cool art variant of the card. They're doing a signed version of the card. Not really signed, it's you know, in foil. But it's a replica of the signature. I'm pretty sure it's one of the dudes that did the comic. Eastman, right? I think so, maybe? Oh no, it's the artist. But it's the artist from the comic. Okay. I'm looping here. It's like, let's circle back to reality here. So, the artist from the comic did the art on the card, and he's got a signature that's not his actual signature, but it's a replica of his signature in foil. Either way, it's a cool variant of the card. And that brings us to our last card spoiled, the only other Mythic, Super Shredder. I love seeing something that references the live-action movies. I know this is probably a reference to the comic book as well. It probably happened in the comic book too. But just as a kid that grew up with the original Ninja Turtles movies, this makes me feel good. Makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. A 1/1 legendary mutant ninja human with menace for 1 black and 1, and whenever another permanent leaves the battlefield to put a +1/+1 counter on Super Shredder. It doesn't look like a whole lot at first, But the more you think about this card, the crazier you realize it is. First of all, it's only 2 mana, so it's coming out really early. It's going to be able to capitalize with way more counters on pretty much everything that leaves the battlefield. And that's the other part that's important about this. It's not just when a creature you control dies. In fact, it's not even just when a creature that any player controls dies. It's literally whenever any permanent dies. Except it's not even whenever any permanent dies. It's whenever any permanent leaves the battlefield. So when you really think about it, this thing gets insanely big. Literally anything leaves the battlefield for any player in any way. So obviously the easiest way is when creatures are dying, your creatures, their creatures, whatever. This thing is getting buffed up. But if you're playing a pixie deck and you're bouncing things back to your hand constantly, that's going to trigger and put counters on this over and over and over again. Is Super Shredder meant to be a win condition in a pixie deck? Maybe. I think we'll probably have to try it. But it also triggers, you know, if you're exiling things, it's not a way to avoid getting counters when things are exiled. You're still getting the counters even when things are exiled. In a flicker deck, if you're flickering things, they're entering the battlefield, they're putting a counter on this. Everything you do, in fact, even lands. If you play that one card, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it lets you sacrifice as many lands as you want, and then, you know, draw a card for each one sacrificed, and then put lands into play. You can get a whole bunch of counters on Super Shredder all of a sudden out of nowhere doing that. The fact that you can even get the counters when lands leave the battlefield just seems crazy to me. Yeah, I think this guy is going to be a sleeper. I think he's going to be a lot better than he looks on the surface. I think when you first look at him, he looks like, oh, he's small, he's going to take too long to get going, how many times is he actually going to trigger? But when you realize that he triggers off literally any permanent in the entire game, you, your opponents, your lands, whatever, you realize he can get really crazy really quick. I think this guy's going to be way better than most people will think he is at first. I'm excited to brew with him, just see where the deck can go and what that looks like. I think it'll be pretty interesting. But that does it for these first initial spoilers. Yeah, Super Shredder's just really cool. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what else is coming. I don't know if I'm super excited about Ninja Turtles existing in Magic for the long term, and all of these universes beyond IPs existing in Magic for the long term. I have a it's very double-edged sword for me. There are things I like about it, there are things I hate about it. I do think they're going a little too deep into universes beyond, and it worries me a bit, but as far as what a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set in Magic the Gathering could look like, I think this is looking like it's the best we could hope for out of a set like this based around this IP, and at least we can be excited about that. So we'll see what happens with the rest of the set. As soon as there are more spoilers dropped for this set and all of the other sets that are on the way, I'll make sure to get those videos out to you guys ASAP. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things. Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and we just got a metric ton of new information dropped at MagicCon about everything coming to Magic the Gathering in 2026. So buckle up, we're going to go over all of the announced information. They unveiled every single set that's coming next year. Surprise, we're getting 7 standard legal sets instead of 6, and 4 of them are Universes Beyond, which is kind of insane. But there was also just one surprise set that they didn't announce yet. They have a placeholder for it, but I've heard some rumors, and I think I have it figured out exactly what that set's going to be. So we're going to dive in, unpack all of this. Please like, subscribe, do all the things, and let's make it happen. So first of all, here is the timeline that they showed for everything coming in 2026. In January, specifically January 23rd, we get Lorwyn Eclipsed, which is the return to the Lorwyn plane that everybody has been so looking forward to. This is a set that originally was slated to come out as the last set in 2025, but they replaced that with the Avatar: The Last Airbender expansion instead, and pushed Lorwyn Eclipsed into January of 2026. I'm really looking forward to this set. Next up, we've got an unannounced Universes Beyond set in March, which I have some theories about that we'll get to in just a little bit. And then in April, we have Secrets of Strixhaven. We're finally returning to Strixhaven, which is kind of like Magic's in-universe version of like Harry Potter, like the Hogwarts school. It's kind of that kind of vibe, witches and wizards and that sort of thing. Then in June, they're doing Marvel Superheroes, which is the second Marvel set after Spider-Man. This is going to be a full standard set release, which is interesting. I have some thoughts about that I'll get to later. And then in August, we're actually getting The Hobbit as a full standard legal set, which honestly is kind of exciting. I always assumed they would go back to Lord of the Rings one way or another, but I didn't think that they would shift focus specifically to The Hobbit and then return to a set that's going to happen in standard. So being able to do a version of like a Lord of the Rings set with some of the themes and characters that will be legal in standard is kind of interesting. I don't know how I feel about Universes Beyond in standard as a whole, but I am very excited about the Hobbit set. Then in October, they're doing a set that's called Reality Fracture, which they were saying some really crazy stuff about. They have a lot to say about this set that they can't say yet, and we'll break that all down in just a little bit. And then in November, they're actually doing a Star Trek set, which makes sense since we just got Edge of Eternities that gave us mechanics that have to do with starships and that sort of thing. So a pretty packed 2026, 7 full standard legal sets, and you'll probably notice that 4 of them are Universes Beyond. I don't know if that's a good thing to do more Universes Beyond than Universes Within, but we'll get to that later. First, let's dive into the first set that they unveiled. So this is Lorwyn Eclipsed. They showed off a bunch of cards, and this is going to be really exciting because Lorwyn and Shadowmoor are now coexisting on the same plane, the plane of Lorwyn, at the same time, which is very different from the first time that we went to Lorwyn, or any time that we went to Lorwyn, to be completely honest. So this set is exciting. They showed off a bunch of the mechanics and a bunch of spoiler cards for this already, and I did another video breaking down all of the spoilers that were already shown for Lorwyn Eclipse. So if you haven't seen that video yet, I'm going to make sure and link that in the description and the comments so you guys can check that out. We're not going to go over all of the same cards here, so definitely check that out to get all the inside scoop on all of those cards, because there's some really interesting mechanics. There's a lot of cool stuff coming in this set, but there is one card that I did want to take a look at before we move on, and that is the World Championship card that was unveiled for Jean-Emmanuel Destraz. He won the World Championship last year, and he gets a card here called Formidable Speaker, which is looking absolutely insane. This is a 2/4 creature elf druid for 1 green and 2, and when this creature enters, you may discard a card. If you do, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. You can also pay 1 mana and tap it to untap another target permanent. Either one of these abilities would be absolutely insane on a card. Having them both on the same card is nuts, which kind of makes sense for a World Championship card, to be completely honest, but I love everything about this. Getting a 2/4 body in addition to tutoring up your best creature is exactly what you need to make a tutor like this that costs 3 viable. Being able to have board presence that impacts the board the moment that you play it, instead of having to like take a turn off in order to search up and tutor up a card. makes this so much more playable. It gives you a huge body to stick in front of aggro and stall until you get to play the creature that you searched up on potentially turn 4. And then you have this untap ability, which sometimes can be used to get like a second mana of a certain color that you only have 1 land for. There's like a little bit of a filtering there, but you can also reuse anything that has a tap ability. Agatha's Soul Cauldron is a big one in all of the VV decks right now, although I think VV's going to be banned pretty soon. And if you're watching this in the future, then he's probably already banned and you're laughing to yourself, but this ability is actually really nuts. I think there's a lot you can do with this, and in Reanimator decks it's really cool because you can just like discard your reanimation target and search up like a creature that can reanimate things, of which there are a few even in standard right now. So I think this card's actually really nuts. I go into it a bit more in detail in another video that I'll make sure to link for you guys in the description and in the comments, because I think this is really cool. But let's move on. The next set that I want to talk about, and you guys probably already have it pegged here, that first Secret Universes Beyond set, I think it's going to be the Ninja Turtles set. There have been a lot of rumors, a lot of rumblings over the last year about Ninja Turtles coming to Magic the Gathering. So people are already thinking this might happen at some point. It's looking very likely it's going to happen at some point. But recently they mentioned when they unveiled this timeline that whatever this set is, this first Universes Beyond set that happens next year, it's going to be announced at a Comic-Con in New York, and that just makes all the sense in the world. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles come from the comics. They got their start in the comics. They're most notable as comic book characters, and it would absolutely be something that you would unveil at a Comic-Con, especially in New York City. It just makes all the sense in the world. And like I said, even before they announced that that's how they were going to unveil this set, there were already a ton of people talking about Ninja Turtles potentially being a set coming down the pipeline. There was a lot of rumors flying, so I feel like the fact that it's being unveiled at a Comic-Con in New York just kind of adds further credence to the rumors that were already there, and I would not be surprised at all if the set that we see as the first Universes Beyond set in 2026 ends up being a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle set. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Let me know how you feel in the comments, but we are going to move on. Next up, we've got Secrets of Strixhaven. This is the return to Strixhaven. If you guys don't remember Strixhaven, it was a pretty cool set. The most notable mechanic was the learn and lesson mechanics. So if you played a spell with learn, you were allowed to search your sideboard for a spell that was type lesson and put it into your hand as part of the learn spell, which was really interesting. It meant that your sideboards mattered in best of 1 or in the first game of a best of 3. It was kind of like a Wish, but powered down. And we did get a bunch of lessons spoiled for the Avatar: The Last Airbender set, which is the next set coming, the last set coming in 2025. A bunch of lessons were spoiled for that set, and they specifically reiterated that there won't be any learn spells in the Avatar set, only lessons. And they have some other mechanics that are synergizing with lessons in that set as well. But I don't think it's... I don't think it's just I don't think it's by chance that they have lessons coming back right before we're about to go back to Strixhaven. So I have a feeling that we're gonna maybe get some learn cards in Strixhaven, and when we do, the lessons from the Avatar set, the last set coming in 2025, are gonna get even more powerful. So I am excited to see what they got brewing up for Secrets of Strixhaven. They showed off a little bit of art. So here we have a picture of a bunch of characters, pretty much one for each color. It looks like we've got black or green. This is probably green, and then white, and then black, and then blue, and then this is definitely a red guy. So interesting. We get sort of a feel for the flavor of some of the characters. And then there's also a return to novels coming with Strixhaven, which everybody seems to be really excited about. I really miss official novels and having a more in-depth storyline to follow. and I'm excited that they're bringing that back with Strixhaven. Are we only getting this Omens of Chaos novel just as a one-off with Strixhaven, or does this mark a return to novels entirely? I kind of hope it's a return to novels entirely, and that we get one with every single set, and I'm really excited that this is happening, and I hope we just get more. I really do. But next up, we've got the Marvel Superheroes set. So this is the second set that involves Marvel characters. We already got the Spider-Man set, and they pretty much pointed out that this is going to do everything that isn't Spider-Man or X-Men, although it does look like we are going to get a little bit of a dip into X-Men to at least some extent, because we do see Wolverine there. But the main things that they pointed out is, first of all, the Avengers. So we see Iron Man here as some concept art. The Avengers are going to be a big part of this Marvel Superheroes set. Not the entire focus, it's not just an Avengers set, but definitely a big part. So we have Captain America as well. They also said that this set is going to feature a lot of the street level heroes, like the Defenders and Heroes for Hire and that sort of thing. Stuff like Daredevil. I think that's really important, and I'm excited to see some of those cards, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Marvel existing in Magic the Gathering to begin with. If they're gonna do it, they gotta go all the way, right? So, getting all of the street level heroes, getting the Avengers, it just makes sense. Next up, we've got another piece of art. They mentioned the fact that the Fantastic Four would be featured in the set as well, which I think is pretty cool. And then we have a piece of art here that shows off a lot of the characters, a lot of the villains specifically, that are also coming in this set. And there's a lot. We've got Doom, we've got Loki, we've got Leader, obviously Thanos is coming, we've also got Ultron. Looks like there's a bunch of Ultrons in the background. That makes me wonder if Ultron's mechanics are going to somewhat involve like multiple copies of himself or something like that. Could be really cool, but there's a lot to dive into here. So if you're excited about Spider-Man, the set that already launched, if you're excited about more Marvel coming, the Avengers and everything else, you can look forward to Marvel Superheroes. This set is gonna be what you want it to be. It's gonna fill in all the gaps. Spider-Man's out of the way. Now let's get all of the mostly non-X-Men Marvel heroes. Let's get them featured in the set. It makes sense. Next up, we've got Magic the Gathering Cross the Hobbit. Very excited about this one. Now, if you guys know me, you know that most of the time I'm not super excited about these Universes Beyond sets. I was super excited about Final Fantasy because I'm a huge Final Fantasy nut, and I was obviously super excited about the Lord of the Rings set because that is just a match made in heaven. And Wizards knows this. Lord of the Rings made so much money and did so well, it only makes sense that they would try to double dip and go back into it, and what better way to do that than with The Hobbit. So the Hobbit set is coming. It is going to be standard legal. Here we have a look at some concept art for the set, My Precious, and we see Golem with the ring before Bilbo finds it. I would be willing to bet that there is another version of the One Ring coming in this set, and it will also be serialized. I think they want to try to capture lightning in a bottle twice, and they're gonna absolutely do another serialized One Ring. I think it's inevitable. I don't know, I guess the question is it a reprint of the One Ring? Is it just another version of it? Or is it a brand new The One Ring card with new abilities that works a different way? Maybe it's a One Ring that centers around the way it's used in the Hobbit storyline, where it helps you turn invisible and that sort of thing. Maybe the focus is on that aspect of it and not so much, you know, the One Ring to rule them all aspect that was in Lord of the Rings. Either way, I'm really interested to see where they go with this, what this new ring ends up looking like. They're definitely going to do one. I'm also excited to see what the Golem card is like, and honestly, just everything. The Hobbit is one of my favorite children's books from when I was a child that I loved to read when I was younger, and it got me into fantasy in a big way. So I'm really excited to see what they do with this. The Hobbit just makes so much sense. I don't know why I didn't see that coming. And yeah, I'm really excited. My precious. But next up, we have a set that was originally codenamed Ziplining. If you guys remember when they announced the sets coming for 2025-2026, like a year ago, they said, you know, Innistrad Remastered, something that they wouldn't name, Final Fantasy. Something they wouldn't, something they wouldn't, something they wouldn't, something they wouldn't. There were all of these code names. Ziplining was the very last one shown off with a code name, and nobody really knew anything about it. Now we know what set this is. It is the end of a huge story arc. It's going to be one of those culminating sets, and it is called Reality Fracture. It comes out in October of 2026, and this, they're saying it's absolutely nuts. They are saying that this is meant to be that big, epic, like huge scope story-ending saga, similar to War of the Spark for Ravnica, where all of the planeswalkers pretty much ever came together to fight off Nicol Bolas. That was like this huge story-ending epic event. And also with the Phyrexian Invasion sets ending with, you know, March of the Machine, and that huge story ending being like this big epic end to a multi-set arc. Reality Fracture is supposed to be something similar, but also they were kind of tight-lipped, but also kind of like hinting at what's coming in Reality Fracture, and they were talking about mechanically it being something that they didn't know if they could pull off from Magic. It was one of the most ambitious sets as far as from a design standpoint, as far as mechanics and things like that, and what they're trying to do mechanically within the set. They almost thought that they couldn't pull off, and they managed to figure out a way to pull it off, and they're even surprised themselves that they were able to do it. So we do have some concept art here for the set. Here we see Chandra, and she's hugging someone that looks a little older than herself, although maybe it is herself. Chandra herself looks a little bit different here than in some other versions of the character in the past, some other versions of the art for the character. So I'm going to go out on a limb and try and put the pieces of the puzzle together. They think this is going to be an epic end to a story. The set's called, what, Reality Fracture, right? And it looks like Chandra, there's something off about Chandra. My guess is that they're going to tap into, like, the multiversal plot lines that a lot of IPs are trying to explore these days, like especially Marvel with, like, the Secret Wars saga and that sort of thing. I think you're going to see, like, multiple versions, multiple existences, multiple timelines, if you will, of characters and planes in this set. I think reality's going to be fractured as we know it, and there's going to be, like, weird, bizarro versions of characters. There's going to be, like, a Chandra from an alternate timeline who grew up different and maybe harnessed ice instead of fire. Something like that. I'm not necessarily saying that's what's going to happen because it looks like she is using fire here, but I think things along those lines. I think they're really going to take the color pie and flip it upside down and do a lot of crazy things. You know, they could have blue and alternate blue, and they could have red and alternate red. They could have like 10 colors in a weird way because you have like the colors as we know it in this timeline, but then you have like the fractured timeline that splits off, and maybe all of the colors are represented completely differently. The closest thing, I think, to what I think this might end up being is like the Time Spiral set that showed us all of this crazy, ridiculous, off-the-wall stuff, some of which would be coming to Magic down the line and did, and some of it we still haven't ever seen again since Time Spiral. I think this set's going to do something similar. I think it's going to be incredibly ambitious, give us these alternate timelines, just break reality, and have some insanely crazy mechanics that sort of delve into that. So if you're watching this way down the line and we already know what the mechanics and what the whole premise of this set is, let me know if I'm right or wrong, because I'm really curious to see if this is the direction they go. But this is definitely going to be a huge saga ending set to a huge storyline arc that they're in the middle of setting up right now, and I can't wait to see what happens. The last set of 2026 is Star Trek. That's right, Star Trek is actually coming to Magic the Gathering, and it makes sense. We just got Edge of Eternities not too long ago, and that introduced sci-fi into Magic the Gathering, and I mean like sci-fi, because we've dipped our toes into it before with things like Kamigawa Neon Dynasty and stuff like that with Cyberpunk, but we've never gone full-on sci-fi space opera. And now that we know that a Star Trek set is coming, it just makes all the sense in the world that Edge of Eternities happened first, because I feel like they knew they were going to do Star Trek first, and they wanted to do an in-universe set to prime us for sci-fi, to get us used to sci-fi being in Magic, so it doesn't feel as much like a crazy tone shift when Star Trek comes. So, with all of that in mind, it just makes perfect sense. Edge of Eternities introduced, stationing spacecraft and all of the hallmarks that you'd expect to see in a science fiction set, and I feel like a lot of those mechanics are going to carry over to Star Trek. There will probably be some new mechanics as well. Every standard set tends to have some new mechanics, and I'm excited to see what that ends up looking like. I always loved Star Trek as a kid. I watched it growing up, and I'm really excited to see what they do with this. I don't necessarily think Star Trek is the best IP to use for Magic the Gathering, and I don't know how I feel about it being in standard for like 3 years, and if it will wear out its welcome. But I am still excited to see what's going to happen in this set and what kind of cards they're going to make. And I'm a little bit excited based on some of the art they showed. So first of all, we see Captain Kirk boldly going, the art for that. And the art looks pretty good, I'm not going to lie. They did mention, they confirmed that they're going to be covering all of the different moments in time for Star Trek, all of the different generations, if you will. Right down from the original series down to the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, the movies, like all that stuff, Discovery. I really think they're going to cover pretty much all of it. They all but confirmed that. They definitely said they're going to cover a lot of different generational leaps within Star Trek. So you could probably expect to see pretty much everything you would want to see out of Star Trek all dumped into this one set. We also got a look here at some Klingons, or at least a Klingon. This is very much an original, Klingon design from the original series when you look at that phaser. And then the last picture that they showed is the one that got me the most excited, because until I saw this picture, I was thinking of Star Trek simply in the terms of technology and science fiction and spacecraft and that sort of thing, and I totally forgot that there are some crazy creatures in the Star Trek universe that just totally fit in with everything that Magic's already doing, just from a cosmic mystery magic sort of phenomenon kind of way. And the crystalline entity is a perfect example of that. If you guys remember, in the Next Generation, the crystalline entity pairs up with Data's brother Lore, and all sorts of crazy stuff happens. The crystalline entity is very, very exciting. I hope we get a Lore card and that it interacts with the crystalline entity somehow. But even just seeing something like this and seeing how far they're willing to go in a direction that fits a little bit more with Magic the Gathering than phasers and spaceships do, has me pretty excited, I'm not gonna lie. This is the one picture that gave me the most hope, and I'm just really looking forward to what else this set is bringing, to be completely honest. But that is gonna do it for this video. So thank you guys so much for checking it out. Like I said at the beginning, if you haven't seen all of the Lorwyn Eclipse spoilers yet, I'm going to link that in the description and in the comments. Ton of really cool mechanics were spoiled, really cool cards, so definitely check those out. And as soon as more information drops on any of these sets, I will make sure to make a video so that you guys get that information as soon as possible. So make sure you like, subscribe, do the thing, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there, and if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things. Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and Wonders of the First just dropped a bomb on all of us. Out of nowhere, a bunch of spoilers for the brand new Set 2 Call of the Stones, which is coming in February. I'm not sure if these spoilers were leaked or if they were intentionally dropped. What happened is they dropped a video hyping up the pre-buy for Call of the Stones, trying to get people to sign up for the pre-sale and linking to a place where you can do that. And in the video, first of all, there was something spoiled about this set. That's something brand new that they're doing for this set that they didn't do for the first set existence. And we'll get to that in just a minute. But they also, in the link, the form that you sign up for this pre-buy on, there were a bunch of cards just sitting there, as you can see right now, being spoiled out in plain sight. And they had to have known that they were doing this. This couldn't have been a leak, right? It couldn't have been like an unintentional, it went live before they wanted it to, or something like that. That was sort of my first thought. But these had to be intentionally spoiled, right? There are 7 cards here. We can only see one card in its entirety. We can see partial cards of the other 6, and we're going to go over each of these 7 cards in detail momentarily. Before we do, I want to talk about that other thing that was spoiled that is brand new to Call of the Stones that wasn't in the initial set in existence. And as you can see here, they showed off the box art completely as part of the hype video that links you to this form, this pre-buy. And there's a little sticker on the corner of the box art, and if you magnify, it says guaranteed 1 celebrity guest autograph or serialized or mythic foil in every pack. So this is confirming there are celebrity guest autographs coming to Wonders of the First in Set 2 Call of the Stones. So we don't know exactly what this means yet. So let's theorize for a moment here. Celebrity guest autographs. Why would there be celebrity guest autographs? The first possibility is that maybe they got a bunch of guest artists to do art for some of the cards, and maybe those cards are signed by those artists. That could be one way that they're going. Although if they're doing that, I don't know if they would label it as celebrity guest autographed. They'd probably label it as artist autograph or something along those lines. Celebrity guest autographed is making me think of the other possibility that they could be going with here, which is just that they actually have celebrities appearing on the art of cards. I'm not sure exactly how they'd go about doing that, but having the likeness of a certain celebrity on a card and then having certain versions of those cards autographed by those celebrities seems like an interesting new twist. And, you know, the more I think about it, the more I kind of want to double down on this prediction, because we've already seen them do something very similar with BoJack's Battle Arena. For those of you that don't know, Wonders of the First is created by the same team, the same company that does BoJack's Battle Arena, which is another card game using sports icons. It's sort of combining the idea of collectible sports cards with collectible card games, sort of mashing it into one. That is, at its root, exactly what BoJack's Battle Arena is. And so for all of their, you know, sports icons and celebrities over in that game, they're able to get autographs on the cards from the players, from the different players that they bring into the game. And it makes sense because that's something that happens a lot in the sports card world. And so adding that sort of extra layer of collectability to something that's also a collectible card game was pretty interesting for BoJack's Battle Arena. It seems like, to me, they're trying to take what's working for Boba and try and make it work for Wonders. Celebrity guest autographs, kind of exciting. I don't know what direction they could go as far as having celebrities being a part of the game, or being, you know, their likenesses being the art for some of the game pieces maybe. So we're gonna have to wait and see when they finally spoil exactly what this means. But that would be my best guess going forward. It could be a number of different things. It could be the artist thing for sure. And that in and of itself could also be something exciting to be excited about with this set. But if I was a betting man, I think that somehow they're they're getting what works with Bojack's in Battle Arena, and they're sort of translating that to Wonders of the First, which is pretty crazy. But with that out of the way, we've got 7 brand new cards to talk about, so let's dive into the cards. So here we have our first look at a card from Call of the Stones. I've done my best to preserve the quality, although the image size was kind of small, so I had to blow these up and they're a little bit blurry. This is Mountain Sovereign Worm, a legendary wonder dragon lava beast it looks like. 5 cost, 6 power. It is a core, so you're going to have a Sulfera land in play in order to play this card. It has flying, which means after it finishes attacking in a realm, it can move to an adjacent realm as part of that attack, which is really great. But also, on attack, you may destroy target enemy with cost 2 or less here. This ability is actually kind of nuts. We've already seen this ability on an item equipment before, the Revolutionary Cannon, but having the ability built into a wonder already there, and you get both a wonder with power and this ability that triggers on attack in the same card that only costs you 1 action to play, instead of having to play both of the cards and use separate actions to play them, is super efficient. More importantly, the fact that this thing flies and you get to have your destruction on a wonder that's flying around and being able to use it in different realms constantly, being able to move it with its flying ability to whatever realm it is most useful in to kill things wherever they happen to be, seems super powerful. So right off the bat, I'm really loving this guy. In fact, I mean, it's a dragon. I'm loving that we're seeing a bunch of dragons. It seems like there's a few dragons in this batch of cards. But the next card we have to look at here is Captain Nebula Talon. The first card we saw was a Sulfera card. This is a Boundless card. It costs 2 energy. It's a primary wonder, and we can't see what its power is, which I think was intentional. But it has this ability here on play. The next card, something that begins with a T, it looks like, some more words, and then plays this round, costs +2, and then we don't see the rest of it. If I was betting man, I think this probably says the next card target player plays this round, costs +2 energy, but it could be any number of things. It could be +2 actions, and that word maybe isn't target. It's something that begins with T and probably an A, but I can't really make it out for sure. So who knows? It could go a different direction, but I'm guessing it's the next card target player plays this round, costs +2 energy. And if that is what the card does, then that also might be a sign that multiple... Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capra.
Today we're cracking open around $4,000 of Spider-Man collector boosters, looking for a $20,000 super rare Soul Stone, an $800 costume change Spider-Man, or at least some cool stuff on the Marvel reprint sheet. How wrecked are we gonna get? Let's find out. So as I get things set up here, I should say, we are opening these boxes super early, and prices right now are incredibly high, even more than normal. So I have very little confidence in being able to price these cards correctly right now. I'm going to do my best. I'll use the normal, like, knock about 50% off, except for the, like, super high-end cards, which that theory doesn't seem to work as well for. But all this to say, take the prices with a bit of grain of salt, because it is still super early pre-sales. And for this set in specific, I have very little confidence in what direction this set's going to go. There's been a lot of negative reaction to Spider-Man Online. On the other hand, it has some awesome looking Spider-Man treatments, so it might end up that these prices go up, they might go down, but all this to say, I'll do the best I can, but prices are going to be kind of wonky on this one. But anyway, let's get into box number 1, Spider-Man. $820-ish, $5 down the drain. Hopefully not. Hopefully all we need is one of those Soul Stones. That's all we need. Actually, the costume change Spider-Man are super expensive too, so let's see what we get here. Commons, don't really care, don't really care. Oh my god, guy in a chair. Guy in a chair. Wizards. Wizards. I'm a guy in a chair. Don't put me on a magic card. Sandman's Quicksand. Heroes hang out. Ooh. I gotta say, the web slinging lands actually look pretty sweet in person. What do we get in a rare number? Oh no, wait, that's more uncommons? Wait, why are we getting? Oh, no, that's I see. This is one of the commander cards, Venom Blast. That's a rare. Put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power up to one target. Oh my god, for 4 mana. Oh, those starter deck cards, not that powerful. Silk Web Weaver, okay. Spider-Man 2099. Ooh, okay. Winds of Change. This is actually on the Marvel bonus sheet. This is currently like 5th or 6th most expensive card. It's like $25 or something. Sadly, not foil. If it was foil, it'd be worth way more. It does look nice though. And ooh, the Clone Saga foil. Wow, it almost, look at that. Look at that treatment. It almost looks scratched. It's kind of neat. Comic panel Clone Saga. So these cards are going to be the big question. Like, do these do the Final Fantasy things? If you look at the Final Fantasy set, a lot of random cards that in a normal set would be like $1 or like $3, $5, just because they're Final Fantasy. Is Spider-Man going to be like that too? Or are these cards going to drop down like a normal Magic set and be, you know, bulk level cards because they don't see that much play? Let me know what you think in the comments. Bagel and Smear. Anyone hungry? Actually, as much as I meme on this card, I am building the Graham O'Brien deck. It is happening. The guy in his chair eating food in his garage. Web Warriors. Forest. Sweep. Jekyll. Genius Geneticist. How about another Silk? This is a small set, so we probably will get more. Ooh, there we go. There we go. So Peter Parker, unfortunately, this is not the best version of Peter Parker. The other treatment is better. This is still fine, and it is one of the more expensive cards in the set. But the comic book treatment one is more valuable than this one. What do we get behind it? Oh, Shock. And that's the thing about these special sheets. You can get some really good cards, and the art always looks really good at them, but you can also open Shocks in a cheering crowd. Good for the group huggers out there. Not much in that pack. I am still disappointed. I mean, we're opening collector boosters, so it doesn't matter, because we get one in every pack, but it does still bother me that they bumped that special Marvel sheet down to 1 in every 24 packs and play boosters. You can give the people who don't want to spend $800 on a booster box some cool cards too. Wizards, Play Pigeons, Savage Mansion, Robotics Mastery, Chameleon. How about a Schwamp? Gwenom the Remorseless. This card's pretty good. Not a special treatment, but it is foil. Basically Bolas' Citadel on a stick from the command zone. Doc Ock's Tentacles. Seems pretty good with Nova Hellkite in Standard. Gonna try building that. How about a J. Jonah Jameson? Do a little Suspecting. Leyline Binding. Man, the special treatments on these Spider-Man cards look really good in person. And what is this? A Silk every... Ooh. I wonder... The other thing we saw with Final Fantasy is the art cards having value. This is a signed art card, which is the rarest of the art cards. I wonder if that's actually worth anything. Also, we have gotten a Silk every single pack. Imagine if that was a Soul Stone instead of a Silk. We would be winning already. But instead, it is many, many, many Silks. So what do you think of this set? I'm very curious what people think. I will say, as a super casual Spider-Man knower, I was not really expecting the multiverse thing with so many Spider-Man. I was expecting more like Peter Parker fighting villains. Evolving Wilds, probably better known as Vibrant Cityscape. How about some angry rabble. Aunt May might actually be kind of playable as a Soul Sister. Molten Man, Spider Bite, Mountain, Arachne. I think Arachne is pretty good. Almost a Thalia, close to a Thalia effect. Peter Parker's Camera. I don't know if this card's good or not. It's interesting that it's 1 mana, but running out of film is an issue. Mysterio. Saw in half. Excited to have this come to Arena for the first time. And just like, look at the art. Easily the best part of this set for me are these treatments. And I don't even care about Spider-Man. They look spectacular. The art is so good. And Web of Life in Destiny. Foil extended. I mean, it is Mythic. It's not one of the higher end Mythic. Oh god, Peter Porker. Oh, this set cracks me up. I don't know what's going on anymore. Where's my Soul Stones, Watsy? So what we are really looking for And again, take the prices with a grain of salt because they are super early and I'll do my best, but I really am not confident in it. But the alt versions of Spectacular Spider-Man are like $800 currently. And then there's a Soul Stone that's like 20k Maximum Carnage. This card's cool, a little too expensive for stand Maximum Carnage, okay. I mean, the comic book treatment's cool. How about a Spider-Man, Spinner and Spiderling, Hex, and Hide on the Ceiling is really good. I feel like this is one of the better cards from the set. The fact that you can hit your opponent's stuff with it is kind of huge. I feel like that card might be good even in Standard. I think it's definitely good in Commander and like Flink decks, but I think it might even be a Standard playable card, which is kind of sweet. Ooh, what do we get? What do we in our next pack? We're just gonna skip through all the bagels and smears. We'll come back to those when we're hungrier. How about an island? Future Flight. Carnage, Cryptic Chaos. Very interested to see if we can have a Mayhem deck in Standard. It seems possible, especially now that they're talking... What is this card? This has to be something, that green border. We'll get to that in a minute. Agent Venom. Kind of a Midnight Reaper. And... Oh, speak of Venom. Skitherix. Venom King in black. And what is this card? Ooh. Oh, that's a hit. That's a hit. This is the good one. This is the Peter Parker you want. We opened that one earlier, which I don't know where I put it, but... This Peter Parker that flips into the comic book Amazing Spider-Man on the short list of most expensive cards from the set. I can't remember exactly. It might be like 60, 80. Actually, it might be over 100. I might be misremembering. But anyway, easily our biggest hit so far. And it does look cool. I really like the art on the backside. No idea where the rules text are. Oh, there it is. It does look neat. Just like look at that art. It's so funny because I find the comic book art nostalgic just because it's retro, even though I'm not really a comic book guy, but it's still like oddly nostalgic for me. Well, that was our best open so far. We could still use a Soul Stone. That would be sweet. All right, let's skim through these commons. The commons in this set are so bad. Oh my god, they're bad. They're so bad. I mean, if you didn't hear the Radioactive Spider, if you didn't hear the story of this set, I really like the Rare Lands. The Rare Land's also one of my favorite parts of the set. Origins of Spider-Man, Hunter's Insight with cool art, and Death of Gwen Stacy. We can get a little comic book panel here. Gwen Stacy, Spider-Man pushes her off the roof for some reason. Then I guess he feels bad about it, and then goes down and is like, oh, why did I do this? Why is that guy flying over me? I'm pretty sure that's how the story goes. But if you missed the story of this set, so originally this was supposed to be a small Assassin's Creed set with 0 commons in it. And then they moved it to Standard and decided they needed to make it a big set. So they added in all the uncommons late in the... It was supposed to have 0 commons. And the commons in this set, I think, you can tell. You can tell they were added in at the last... I mean, some of them are fine. But some of them, you can tell they kind of maybe came in at the last second. All right, what do we get? Another Spinner and Spiderling. Villainous Wrath. This card's going to be fun in Commander. Is a Wrath with a Rakdos Charm built in. A Wrath that can accidentally kill someone is pretty funny. Spidey Sense, Rite of Replication with a lot of Spider-Men, and Agent Venom. And another art card. They're really going hard on these art cards. I think Wizards, it feels like they realize that art cards have value now with these sets and are really embracing the art card idea. All right, how about a hot dog cart? How about a hot dog cart? Anyone want a hot dog? Forest, friendly neighborhood. Moreland, I like Moreland a lot. I think Moreland's a good commander card for sure. And could maybe even show up in some standard decks. A Pumpkin Bomb, borderless. How about another Rite of Replication? Ooh, Miles Morales. Okay, this is also, I believe, is this the best version? Yes, this is also, okay, this is on the same level as Peter Parker. Also, one of the most valuable cards in the entire set. And just look how cool those look. I give this set a ton of credit for its aesthetic. Just as far as the art. I think the art in the set, especially on the special treatments, is just so good. That is one of the highlights. Kapow! Too many Spider-Men, though. My god, there's too many Spider-Men. I don't even know what that is. Speed Doctor. Is that Spider Doctor? Ghost Spider, Gwen Stacy. That's a Spider-Man. Hide on the Ceiling. We'll take another one of those. Spot. the Living Portal. I wish this was like 1 mana cheaper for constructed. It's a cool card, but at 5 mana, I'm not sure if it makes. Ooh, the Opposition Agent. Oh, that looks sweet. Unfortunately, not foil. Foil actually matters a lot price-wise on these, but first time coming to Arena for that one too. And Iron Spider. One of the lesser Spider-Men. We would rather be opening Peter Parkers and Miles, not Iron Spider. The Stark upgrade. All right, 2 more packs in box 1. What do we find? Can we get a hot dog cart? I do need the hot dog food token. We got to keep an eye out for that. I need that for the guy in his garage eating food deck. Scarlet Spider-Man Riley. I actually think this might be one of the better standard cards in the set. Like, it's only 2 to web sling. If you web sling this off Llanowar on turn 2, you get a 5/4 trampler, and you have the mana to replay the Llanowar. So I think there could be like some sort of Gruul Stompy deck with this card. With great power, I also love this card. This card just has funny combos. Put on an indestructible creature and never die. Strength of Will, and oh well, we jumped ahead a little bit past this comeuppance, but that is fine because we jumped into Anti-Venom Horrifying Healer also. Man, this box might actually be working out. I feel like this is also a very expensive card. So we've gotten at least three big hits already in Miles and Peter Parker and Anti-Venom. No Soul Stones though, and no spider suit changes, whatever it's called. All right, what do we get? Last pack of box 1. Can we get some goodies? Spider-Man India, Spider Slayer Hatred Honor, so many Spider-Man. Carnage, rocket-powered Goblin Glider. Ooh, another Anti-Venom. This one's not foil, so a little less valuable, but still a good card. Goblin Bombardment, which honestly, I don't think I would play this version. And Friendly Neighborhood in foil, and oh, there we go. Spider-Man India up close. Look, so if you're a Spider-Man fan, explain to me, why are there so many Spider-Men? Why are there so many? Why? At first, when I saw this set, I didn't realize that it was supposed to be a multiverse thing, and I was like, wait, is this just like Spider-Man on vacation? Did Spider-Man just like go to India and they decided to make a card of it, and then he went to the UK and they made a card of it, and then he went to Brooklyn and they made a card of it? Is that what's going on with this set? But apparently someone was like, oh, it's a multiverse. And I'm like, oh, it's just like Rick and Morty. And then people got mad because they're like, rah, Spider-Man did it first. Rick and Morty is just like Spider-Man. I'm like, yeah, sure. That is probably true. But they're still basically the same. All right. Box number 2. I think box number 1, I feel like it went okay. It went okay. We got none of the hot dog card. Got none of the super duper high-end stuff in terms of like the $1,000 cards, but we hit like 3 of the best mythics from the set, which is good. All right, Planes, Peter Parker's camera. Again, Rent is due. I don't know how I feel about this card. I like the design of Rent is due. I have heard some interesting criticism from people being like, I don't want to be thinking about having to pay my rent when I play Magic, but I don't know if that holds up because we murder each other in Magic. There's literally murder as a card, and I don't think you want to be murdered either. So if the idea is like, I don't want to think about negative things, I don't know why. Maybe Rent is due is just more it's something everyone experiences, but yeah, I don't know. I think that might be taking it too seriously. Symbiote Spider-Man. Reprieve. That actually looks, I would play this Reprieve over the other versions. That looks pretty sweet. And Kraven the Hunter. Gonna be an annoying commander. Where's my hot dog? No hot dog. All right. If we miss a hot dog, hey, oh, there it is. We're gonna put that. This is the most important. We're gonna put this in its own pile. That goes in. That's actually the most important card we've opened so far. And we opened several hot dog stands. The deck is coming together. I'm saying, it's coming together. It's coming. Thank you, Watsy. Thank you, Wizards. Let's see. Oh, there it is. We'll put you over there in our food deck pile. Oh, Graham O'Brien is feasting. His garage will never be the same. Forest, Anara, with great power, and third Anti-Venom. All right, we will take 3 Anti-Venoms. Clever Impersonator, looking pretty cool, and Maximum Carnage. This is the kind of card I'm very curious about. Is Maximum Carnage, is this a... What do you, give me your vote. Does this end up a bulk card that's like 25 cents because it's not really a constructed playable card? Even in Commander, it's kind of fringe, maybe for Go decks. Or is this like a $5 card because it's got Spider-Man comics on it? I think that is the question. That is the question, and that's what's going to make pricing this set so tricky right now is I don't really know. I don't really know if it goes Final Fantasy or if it goes normal Magic set at this point. I will say the reaction at least on the very online corners of the Magic world, has been more negative than Final Fantasy. Schwamp. Ooh, all right, Peter Parker. Base version, but still. Even the base version, pretty sweet. I think this card's pretty good. This is like standard of Johnny. And wait, no. I'm putting these in the wrong pile. We gotta leave. There we go. We gotta make sure that our hot dog and our food deck is doing all right there. All right, let's see. Superior Spider-Man. Spider-Punk. Spider-Punk, one of the best Spider-Man, I think, for constructed in the set, for sure. Another Oppo agent. We will take it. And, oh, okay. That is a sweet-looking... Which one do you like better? They actually... And it's kind of funny. I think I might prefer the base version art. Or like this, the one on the right. But which one do you think is better of the Spider-Punks? I actually think I like the one where he's just kind of chilling with the bubblegum compared to the electric guitar. But both... decent cards. Not super high-end opens, I don't think, but playable cards. And playable is good. All right, let's see what we get here. A bunch of commons, pictures of Spider-Man Island, Parker Luck. Is Parker Luck a person, or is this referring to Peter Parker being lucky? Strength of Will. How about another Silk? Always got to have a Silk. A Tangle to go with our Silk, and a Mysterio. And Mysterio... One of the awkward parts of this set, at least from my perspective, is it's the first Marvel set. Things like villains are very new to Magic. So a card like Mysterio, it could be a really cool card for a villain deck, but you're probably going to have to wait a few more Marvel sets to get enough villains to actually build a villain deck. So some of these cards, I think, will look better as far as their playability in another 2 or 3 years or so as they keep printing Marvel sets. And maybe they bring villains to Magic more. Maybe we get more Magic-themed villains. Strength of Will. Parker Luck, again, familiar. Electro Assaulting Battery. How busted is Electro? Is this new VV? I think it's not as good as VV, but it still seems like it could be very strong in a VV deck. Maybe it's VV's replacement, now that we know it's almost certainly going to get banned in November. Bioorganic Carapace. 4 mana is just so much. But in a modified commander deck, I think it's kind of sweet. Next time we see a Bagel and Smear, we gotta pull that out too for our food pile. Gynic chair. I mean, is there any food in there? Is he eating? Okay. Is that food? Is that food by the computer? You know what? I think that's a bag of chips. In the deck with you guy in the chair. Secret identity. We're gonna count it. Spider Slayer, Hatred Honor. All right, Mountain, Oscorp Industries. Again, these lands are just so cool. Really, I hope they complete the cycle in future sec. Doc Ock Tentacles, Green Goblin Nemesis. So the starter or whatever it is, control deck Green Goblin.
Death is such an
Najila is Spider Gwen. Pretty busted commander, and Oscorp Industries. All right, I guess we got to build a Mayhem deck. And Spider-Man copy token. All right. Well, this box I feel like has not been as good value-wise, although it has added more to our Graham O'Brien deck, so... So I guess that's the real victory. Subway Trade, Alien Citizen, Mary Jane, Damage Control, alright, Mountain, Biogenic Carapace, the Spot Living Portal, Mysterio, Traumatize. The Spider-Man art's so good on these. It just looks so clean. And Rent is Due Extended Foil. How good do you think this card is in Magic? Like, okay, beginning your end step, you can tap 2 untap creatures into treasures. If you do, draw a card, otherwise you sack it. If you can keep it going, it's a 1-mana Phyrexian Arena. That doesn't even lose you life. So I feel like in like a go-wide white commander deck. Why will this pack not open? Did I forget how to open packs? I feel in some sort of like go-wide white commander deck, it could be good. I can even see a 1-mana maybe constructed. It's just risky because when it's bad, it's going to be really bad. Like, sacrifice itself. Ooh, throwing a Scout the City here. How about, let's see, Prison Break, Layla, Web Warriors, Plains, Hide on the Ceiling. All right, we'll take another one of those. Sandman. This is another card I'm not sure how good it is. We've never seen a creature with power and toughness equal to your lands this cheap before, but green kind of sucks in Standard. Oh, there's Otherland, Urban Retreat, also very good. Heroic Intervention, one of the better. I mean, Heroic's Intervention, they reprint it constantly, and it's always $10. And then you get the Spider-Man treatment, so it's like 20 or 25 or something. So it's always a good open. And all right, double Sandman and Spider-Man with some webs. Yeah, I don't know if Sandman's gonna be busted or not. I could see there being a deck where it's very good, and then I could also see it seeing no play at all. So his base is like 3 mana 3/3 if you just play it on turn 3, which, wow, that is a heavy played illusion villain. Look at that. We just opened the pack and it's already eaten up. Mass Meower. We still need a Bagel and Schmear. Where's our Bagel and Schmear? Ooh, Electro. Another Electro. We'll take it. Bioorganic Carapace. Sure. Friendly Neighborhood. Yup. Feed the Swarm. Boo. Hate it. Scarlet Spider-Man Variety Foil Showcase. I mean, that looks pretty good. I haven't noticed any special foiling on this set. I know there is, but like with Edge of Eternities, we were looking for what was it cosmic planetary foils? I don't know. Cosmic foils? I'm sure I'm saying the wrong word there. You know what I mean. It was very obviously, it looked like outer space. This set, I don't think it has a foiling like that. Forest. Mysterio. Oscorp Industries. Hey, Miles. Non-foil, unfortunately. Oh, I didn't realize it says Thwimp. Thwimp. I guess that's the sound of flipping your headphones. Your headphones say Thwimp. Reanimate. Just look at how awesome that card looks. It's just so cool looking. It's just so cool. And Strength of Will. All right, couple more. We need a Soul Stone. We have opened 0 Soul Stones. I feel like box 2 has been worse than box 1 so far. I don't think it's been like horrible, but maybe it's been horrible. But I feel like it's been meaningfully worse. But we got 2 more packs to hit something big. And there are big things that can save the whole box. Spider-Verse. Card's cool. It's just awkward that it's red. Red is an awkward color for Spider synergies. The Clone Saga. Doc Ock Evil Inventor. From the starter kit or whatever. Another Leyline Binding. Foil this time. Wow, it looks even cooler in foil. And foil. And Mary Jane Watson. Honestly, I kind of hate Mary Jane in this set. The fact that it's Selesnya means I can't play it into my Spider decks. Wizards. Make it mono green, Wizards. Wizards. But yeah, it just doesn't work in existing Spider decks like Ishkana and Shelob. All right, what do we get? Last pack of box number 2, and we need something good here. This box is going to be a flop. Swamp. Cheering Crowd. That's not it. Origins of Spider-Man. Cool comic art, but also not it. Moreland. Good commander card, but not it. How about Hunter's Insight? Okay, one of the least valuable of the Marvel sheet. And, Parker Luck. All right, well, outside of getting the food token, which, I mean, is the most important open so far, box number 2 felt pretty bad. That one felt pretty bad. There were a couple of okay cards, but really, overall, I feel like that box was kind of a whiff. We need a Soul Stone. One of these days, we do these big openings every set. One of these sets, we're actually gonna hit like the $10,000. We're gonna hit the jackpot. We're gonna hit the jackpot. The $10,000 Soul Stone or something. Like sooner or later, it's gonna happen. Maybe not this set, but one of these sets. We did open a couple of serialized cards a long time ago, back when serialized cards were more common. All right, box 3. How we looking, Spider-Man box 3? Spider-Man, Peter Parker, so one of the Spider-Man Eternal cards. The Spider-Man Eternal cards I don't expect to be worth too much just because they're pretty underpowered. Again, I don't know why Spider-Man murdered Gwen Stacy. It seems out of character for him, but I'm not a big Spidey fan, so I don't know. Let me know in the comments why. Why did Spider-Man push Gwen Stacy off the roof? Another Skitherix, and oh, Mr. Negative. This might be my favorite card in the set. It's just such a cool ability. The ETB life swap ability, and then the card draw ability, if you end up losing life in the exchange, it's just such a cool design. Easily one of my favorite cards in the set. Worst case, going to be a really fun commander. Maybe we can do something with it in standard, although it is awkward that it gets kind of hard locked by Screaming Nemesis. That part's not the most ideal. All right, well, taxi driver. Is there any food? Nah, I don't see any food. Hey, there it is. There it is. Bagel and Schmear. Right, get over here with our hot dog. Join the deck, Bagel and Schmear. Okay. Y'all always yell at me for not organizing my cards well enough. and I've taken it to heart. You can see my engineer file here. Agent Venom. Lizard, Connor's Curse. I feel like this is a good commander card, too. Web of Lifestream. It's kind of like a Beast Within type effect. Can get rid of commanders permanently. Interdimensional Web Watch. I will say, even though they expanded the set out to make it bigger, it's still smaller than most sets, and the expanding was mostly adding commons so they could at least pretend like you could draft it or do the pick 2 draft thing or whatever. I will say, I feel like there's a lot of redundancy in these packs. We're seeing like the same cards over and over again already, and we're only 3 boxes in. Spot again, Sandman again, Pumpkin Bombs again, Unexpected Windfall. I like Unexpected. Would I play this version? I play Unexpected Windfall in a lot of commander decks. The art looks fine. I don't know if I would play it or not, though. Base it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot. And Peter Parker's camera, okay. The B-Man. All right. So, where's our Soulstones, wizards? How about a Soulstone? Soulstone or costume change Spider-Man. That's what we really need here. We need something. Because the last box was not a banger for us. Ooh, Cosmic Spider-Man. All right, first Cosmic Spider-Man. It is foiled, just the base version, though. Mary Jane Watson, again, Ultimate Green Goblin. Still interested in the Mayhem deck. Rest in peace. The art on that one's pretty good. I would play that one. And, oh, still, Spidey. Stop murdering Gwen. I gotta read why. I don't understand. That's how I learned about pop culture. Like, from these openings and from these Universes Beyond sets, now I know that, like, Cloud and Sephiroth are brothers. Spider-Man murdered Gwen Stacy. I'm catching up. Spider-Woman, Stunning Savior. First time we've seen Spider-Woman. Iron Spider, Comeuppance. That art is pretty funny. Punch him in the chest and hit yourself in the face. And Silk. It's been a minute since we've gotten to Silk. It's been a minute. I feel like this box is off to a slow start too, but we still, I mean, we're like halfway through this opening. We still have 2 full boxes and half of this box, so there is time. There is time for the boxes to redeem themselves. How about a Villainous Wrath? I do like that card. I do like Villainous Wrath. Spider-Ham Peter Porker. Maybe my least favorite card in the set. Well, no, but on the list. Does that make it, when it enters, it makes a food? And it is literally in the other version, a pig eating a hot dog. Does that go in the food deck? It might. Imposter Syndrome. You know they had to do it. How do you not put the meme on a card if you get the chance? They had to do it. I feel like the dimensions could have been better. It should be zoomed out a little bit more, but you get the point. You get the point. Silk Guard and Arachne. And do you get an art card in, like, I feel like there's way more art cards than in past packs. It's not every pack, because we still get tokens, but I feel like we've gotten way more art cards than we have in the past. All right, going into the second half of box number 3. Oh, okay, Bagel and Schmear, yeah. Gotta set that aside. Need a backup. Island, Lizard, Connor's Cures. Craven's Last Hunt. Okay, that's a flavor win. This is, Arasta, Master Weaver Web Protector, and, alright, Inara, Heart of the Spider. Sure. Inara I don't think is worth much of anything. How iconic is Inara as a character? I don't know who Inara is. Is Inara like a S tier Spider-Man character, a B tier, F tier? I'm also curious about Spider-Man Brooklyn Visionary. With great power and foil. J. Jonah Jameson, Maximum Carnage, Winds of Change. Okay, I mean that's a solid $25. And that's a hit. That is a hit. I think this is like 100 plus. Eddie Brock, Borderless Showcase, flipping around into Venom. Wow, look at how awesome that card. Just take a minute. Whether you like Spider-Man, whether you like Universes Beyond, whether you care about any of this stuff, just look at that card. That card looks so cool. It looks so cool. Like, what else can you say? It is just a really cool looking piece of cardboard. Yeah, and it's worth a lot of money, so. Also a win when you are $4,000 into Spider-Man boxes of all things. All right, what do we get here? How about, I mean, that's a hit at least. We need more of those. I really want a Soul Stone. We have not found a Soulstone. J. Jonah Jameson. Hydro Man. One of the coolest designs from the set for sure. I don't know if this card's actually good, but I think it's a super cool design. Ooh, Multiversal Passage. I feel like this could be a playable land. We've seen lands similar. This is just the best version of the play it and it becomes a land type land. Another Son half and Shadow of the Goblin. I also feel that art's also pretty cool. I also think this is one of the better cards in the set. 2 mana. You get to rummage every turn, and then if you play a card from anywhere except your hand, you get to ping everyone for 1. I feel like that card's gonna be really good in like Prosper style decks and Mayhem style decks. There's just so many different synergies for the combination of looting and playing stuff from exile, playing stuff from your graveyard. Probably wins with like Underworld Reach. I think that card's gonna actually be very good. Grossum Arms, how about that? Web Shooter, terrific team up. Heroes Hangout, Mountain. Black Cat. All right, that's our first Black Cat. Basically upgraded, I think upgraded Gonti. More expensive, but you see more cards. Spinneret. Venom from the starter decks. Counterspell. They love printing Counterspell with whatever crossover they're doing. There's always a Counterspell with Sweetheart and Ultimate Green Goblin extended foil. Okay. Honestly, I feel like I don't know how we're doing. I'm feeling like the first box was good, and the second 2 boxes have not been that good, considering the amount of money we're into them. But I guess we'll see. Like I said, the prices are so in flux at the moment. Anyway, Schwamp, Mary Jane, Lady Octopus. How about it? Ooh, okay, there we go. Norman Osborn. These are the cards you want. You want the non like super crazy stuff, like the $10,000, $20,000 Soulstone or whatever. Out of just like the normal stuff. The flip cards in the comic book styles are just some of the best cards that you can just normally get in the set. And I think Norman Osborn, although I wish this was my boy Fleam. Where's my boy Fleam? Green Goblin, you're fine, but Fleam, that is an actual character. Inferno, move over, Green Goblin. Fleam is here. Spider Woman, Stunning Savior. Ooh, that foiling does look. I do like that foiling. I'm telling you, so many art cards, infinite art cards. Let's look closer. I feel like the way the border pops in the foiling looks really nice. It does look really good. That is a cool looking card. Well, all right, last pack of box number 3. We could really use a $20,000 Soulstone. That would be, I would not complain. I would not complain. Or Baghead Spider-Man, either one. We will accept either one, Wizards. This pack only. The offer's off the table. Spider-Man Noir, Island, Venom Blast. I feel like these starter deck cards in the super expensive collector boosters are kind of a waste of a slot. Shadow of the Green Goblin, Cheering Crowd, Rite of Replication. We've gotten a few of those. Lady Octopus. Ugh. All right. Lady Octopus is one of those cards that people will think is good, but once they play with it, they're going to be like, it's actually way harder to use than I thought. All right. Box number 4. Let's see how we're doing. I mean, what's this mean? 24 more packs to get this Soulstone or a costume change Spider-Man. Ooh. All right, there we go. Box number 4. So I want to say box number 1 good. Box number 2 and 3 equally mediocre. Box number 4. This is gonna be the one. This is the one. This is the one. I have faith in Spider-Man for some reason. Spider-Man will save us, but not Gwen Stacy. I don't know what she did, but Web Warriors, Mountain, Web of Life and Destiny, Electro, okay. I mean, one of the better rares. Craven the Hunter, Shock, Parker Luck. All right. Not the craziest pack. I swear we need some, there's some mythics we haven't seen. A lot of the rares I feel like we've already seen over and over again. What do we get in this pack? Get through them commons into Hide on the Ceiling. All right. I mean, I really feel like this card's gonna be good, gonna be worth something. Mary Jane, Grasping Tentacles. Target opponent mills 8. You can put an artifact card from that player's graveyard on the battlefield under your control. So 3 mana mill 8. Maybe in Commander, not in Constructed. All right, wins a change. That's still fine. And Bio-Organic Carapace. There's some Mary Jane action. I'm curious, do y'all actually do anything with the art cards? Like, now that I always just literally treated them like tokens, and they just end up in some random bulk, like, throwaway box. But do people collect them? Are there actually people watching this video that collect the art cards? I'm curious. And has the fact that they have cool art on them now, has that made you, like, has Universes Beyond made you start collecting them, or recent sets? Biogenic Carapace, again. How about a Kraven's last ton? Ooh, Gwen Stacy, okay. Not foil, unfortunately, but again, flipping over into Ghost Spider. I feel like Gwen Stacy lags behind the other ones. I don't know if it's the character or the card or what, but price-wise, this is not as high as like Miles or Peter Parker, but still good. Mystic Confluence, and all right, another extended foil, Mr. Negative. We'll take it. We'll take it. Mr. Negative, I think when it's all said and done, I feel like it's got to be one of the more popular commanders from the set. I don't know. Maybe all the Spider-Man will be all people build out of the set. What do we get out of this pack? How about Peter Parker's camera? Lady Octopus again. Sensational Spider-Man. This was the first card they spoiled from the set. And I was like, oh, the Spider-Man set's going to have like a stun counter theme. And then they previewed the set, and I don't think there's another stun counter in the entire set. Maybe there's one on a random comment or something, but it is definitely not the theme. Shadow of the Goblin. This card is actually pretty cool. So this is what? Remove the Mask or something the name is. But there's a super old Magic card called Unmask. The same artist did this art, and it's a very obvious callback to Unmask, a Magic card printed like 25 years ago, which I thought was actually a super cool callback. I really like. One of my criticisms of this set is I felt like it didn't like mechanically fit that well into Magic. Like it's spiders that are in the wrong colors to play with spiders and so forth. But I think stuff like this is a cool way to integrate sets like Spider-Man into the game's history a little bit. So more of that I would be fine with. What do we get here? Cheering crowd. Boo. We don't want more of you. Hide on the ceiling. Spot living portal. Unexpected windfall. Oscorp Industries. Man, are we going to go through this whole thing without getting a Soul Stone? Even the base version of Soul Stone's like over $100 currently. It is easily the chase card of the set, and we have gotten literally 0 of them, which is very concerning. That's where the money's at. How about Spider-Man Miles Morales? Sure. That Spider-Man, leave her alone, Spider-Man. What did Gwen ever do to you? Interdimensional Wed Watcher, Skitherix, Lady Octopus. All right. Sure. So what Marvel set do you want to see next? We know they're doing multiple Marvel sets, several Marvel sets. Speculation there might be 6 altogether with 1 Soul Stone in each. But what else would make sense from a Marvel perspective? I'm the what's an X-Men guy, remember, so I'm not the person to answer this question. Clone Saga, Ren is due. Clever Impersonator. Oh, okay. I mean, that's a Gwen. That's a Gwen Stacy, this time in foil. Ghost Spider. Variant. I think this is the more valuable of the 2 variants, I think. I'm pretty sure. Well, that's a hit. It's not a Soul Stone level hit, but it still is a hit. We will accept it. This pack's getting a little light, though. Or this box is getting a little light. More than halfway through it. But I feel like Avengers, I've heard of that before. X-Men, beyond that, I have no idea. Swamp. Superior Spider-Man, Black Cat, with a comic book treatment. Spider-Ham, Peter Porker. We got to get the other version for the deck, for our bagel and schmear deck here. We haven't found the base version yet. Hunter's Insight and a Spider Sense. Not sure how good this card is. Web Slinging Counterspell's interesting. Only hitting instants and sorceries and triggered abilities, though. Doesn't get Soul Cauldron, doesn't get Profs. Well, I think it's a card. Remember, these cards exist for so long now. Like, even in Standard, they exist for 3 years. So I imagine it's a card that will matter in the future, I would guess. But I don't know if I play in the current Standard meta. Forest. Ooh, all right, Norman Osborn. I mean, so this is not the greatest version. This is just the base foil. But Fleam! Where are you, Fleam? But this is, it's another Fleam. Who would not want another Fleam? Symbiote Spider-Man. Ooh. How about Superior Spider-Man? Rest in peace, this time in foil. And Strength of Will. Man, the last card in the pack is where the money is. Usually. That's usually where the money is. And I feel like our last card in the packs have not been that good this time. Disappointing. Oh, all right. Well, I mean, we got another token for our guy in the garage eating food deck. It is coming along nicely. How about Ren is due, Jackal, Green Goblin Nemesis, Savage Beating, and Sandman. Internet off to Neverland. Oh, Metallica. All right, what do we get? Two more packs out of this box. Subway Train. Yeah, this card. This is another kind of like, I don't know, guy doing the normal thing. And I don't know. I just don't know about that spaceship in the background. I don't know. Is that an Easter egg of some kind? Spider-Man India. How about a Schwamp? Multiversal Passage. All right, that's fine. We'll take it. Peter Luck. Nah. Ooh, Spider-Punk. All right, that's a nice Spider-Punk. Oppo Agent. I mean, we'll take Oppo Agent. That is a valuable card. And Carnage Crimson Chaos. I have not noticed any special foiling on these cards. Maybe I'm just missing it, but I feel like it's all normal. Man, that's another. Look at that. Look at that. My art card. Wizards. Look at that. Out of the box. Look at that. Wizards. That could have been a $20,000 Soulstone with a ding in it. All right, last pack of box 4, and we really could use something good because I feel like we might be getting kind of wrecked. After box 1, I don't know, maybe it's way better than I think, and everything's going to add up way more. Silk, Scarlet Spider-Man Riley, Ultimate Green Goblin, Master Weaver, and Craven. All right, well, one more box to go. Here we go. Box number 5. This has got to be the one. This has got to be the one. Look at how good I am at opening. Ooh, just twist, pull. All right, I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to cut this out. Professional box opener here. Professional box opener. All right, last box. So all we want out of this box is a friggin' Soulstone. A friggin' Soulstone. A Baghead Spider-Man. And another Bagel and Smear. And then I'll be happy. That's it. Actually, no, we really need the Peter Porker. The pig eating a hot dog for the Graham O'Brien deck. Oh, guy in a chair. Wait, yeah. You go over there. We're gonna be able to build 2 copies of the Graham O'Brien deck here in a minute. Mountain. How about a Symbiote Spider-Man? Shadow of the Goblin, Cheering Crowd, Goblin Bombardment, and Friendly Neighborhood. I will say, opening a lot of boxes of these, it does remind me a little bit of like Assassin's Creed. Not as bad. Or like Aftermath or something. It feels like the redundancy of the rares reminds me of that. But now there's some random commons thrown in. Spider-Man Noir, Island, Origins of Spider-Man, Black Cat, another Spider-Punk, Terminate with pretty cool art, and Iron Spider Stark Upgrade. Man, we're not going to get... Are we going to open 5 boxes and not get a Soulstone? If we open 5 boxes and don't get a Soulstone or a costume change Spider-Man, that's really rough. I think the math is maybe not in our favor at this point. But value-wise, if we don't hit one of those... Oh, man, this might be disastrous. This might be disastrous. Lizard. All right, Cosmic Spider-Man. We will accept a Cosmic Spider-Man. I expect people will build that as commander. Mystic Confluence and foil, and a Black Cat comic book. Sure. Oh, there's a hot dog. Put you over there. I'm getting nervous. I'm getting nervous if we're not gonna get it. I don't know. Like I said, maybe these cards are adding up way more than I think. It's just so rough when boxes are $800-900. If you don't hit some of the high-end stuff, it is hard to make that back. Even during our chaotic, inflated pre-sale period. Swap, Radioactive Spider. Hide on the Ceiling, sure. Spider Sense, sure. Ooh, Doc Ock, Armed and Dangerous. Tentacling up a Spider-Man. And another, okay, I mean, it's the Hide on the Ceiling pack. Extended Hide on the Ceiling pack. One of them's foil, though. Hopefully Hide on the Ceiling ends up being worth something, because we have opened a lot of those. All right, what do we have? Almost through the first half of box number 5, our final box. Ooh, guy in the chair. What do we get? Forest, Scarlet Spider-Man Riley, Mary Jane Watson, Ultimate Green Goblin. Oh, I messed it up. Infernal Grasp. That art is cool. The card's not worth anything. The art's cool, though. And a Symbiote Spider-Man. This is another one, like, oh, man, I just don't know about the prices. Is Symbiote Spider-Man a $5 card? A 25-cent card? A $10 card? If this was a Magic character, you print this exact same card, but it's an in-universe card, I would fully expect it to be a bulk rare, right? 25 cents, 50 cents, whatever, something like that. Is there a Spider-Man bump? That is the question, similar to Final Fantasy. Are people going to pay more for Symbiote Spider-Man because it's Symbiote Spider-Man. Just because I love Spider-Man. That's a question that I don't have the answer to. But we're going to find out pretty soon as a city pigeon. Well, look at that hot dog. That's not a guy, though. Does a city pigeon count as a guy? Does it go in the deck? Do we put it over there? Yeah, it is another hot dog. Man, this set has, I'm pretty sure, 200% more hot dogs than all the rest of Magic sets combined. Hey, Miles Morales. Okay, that's a hit. Not the best version, but still. That is a hit. Carnage, sure. Peter Parker's camera, sure. 9 lives. We haven't seen that before. That's a new one. And cheering crowd. We love you, Spider-Man. We do not love opening cheering crowd, though, because speaking of bulk rares, I'm pretty sure that one's a bulk rare. It's a bulk rare, and it doesn't even have Spider-Man on it, so I don't think it's going to be saved by the character. Well, second half of box 2. If we're going to hit ourselves a Soul Stone, we are running out of time. Spider-Man UK with the super big flag. Look at that flag. It just waves for days and days. Planes. Hey, we did it. Okay. We might not get a Soul Stone. We might not get Baghead Spider-Man, but at least we got a Spider-Ham Peter Porker, which definitely goes in the deck. That is a pig eating a hot dog. Actually, wait, that's another hot dog. 300% more hot dogs than the rest of Magic put together. Kind of impressive, actually. Oscorp Industries, Doc Ock, Master Planner. How about a Hex and Agent Venom? Well, okay. We achieved one of our goals, which is get the pig eating the hot dog for the guy in his garage eating food deck. That means in these packs, Baghead Spider-Man, we got, what, 5 left? All right. This pack's going to be the Baghead Spider-Man, and then the last pack, we're saving them all for then. The last 2 packs, Soul Stone, Baghead Spider-Man, and then we retire on our newfound Spider-Man wealth to build the deck. Whoosh. See, Secret Identity is the name of the card. This is a card that calls back to Unmask with the same artist even. Swamp. Death of Gwen, Spider-Man, leave her alone. Death Against Stacy, Jackal. Villainous Wrath. Terminate. Well, okay, that's a cool looking multiversal passage. It's foil, the art's good. Not a Soul Stone, but we'll take it. We'll replace it here in a little. How about that? Multiversal passage. Actually, no. Wait. Hang on. We gotta do this properly. There we go. That's where we keep our most important card we've opened so far. All right, what do we get out of, oh boy, pack number 8 out of box number 5, I want to say. Spider-Man, oh, that's another one. Heroic Horde. Island. Lethal Protection. 4 mana, blow up a creature, return target 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand at sorcery speed. Man, you can tell it's a starter deck card, that's for sure. Spider-Woman, Spawning Savior, could be a standard playable card. Urban Retreat, good card. Beast Within. Would I play this Beast Within? Probably. I don't have a special version of Beast Within that I always play. This one does look pretty cool. And Hydro Man, Fluid Felon. I really like the design on Hydro Man. It's not worth the money, but that's okay. Man, 3 packs. We need a spectacular Spider-Man, and we need us a Soul Stone, and we're running out of time. Okay, how about Planes? Another Spider-Punk, sure. Radioactive Spider, this time with a showcase treatment. Doc Ock, again. Parallel Lives. Ooh, okay, that's a hit. That's it. This is I believe, the most expensive card, or tied for the most expensive card on the Marvel sheet. The funny thing is I don't actually like the art on this one. I think the art actually looks kind of jank. Not the artist, just like the concept of the art I don't really like. Yeah, I don't actually like the art, but I'm not going to complain about opening a $40, $50 bill. And Kraven's Last Hunt. It is so cool that it actually looks like a comic book panel. Like, it just, the concept on that, wow, look at that signature. War? Who's the artist? Oh, that's Wayne Reynolds' signature? I guess I make Wayne R. Okay, I get it. Well, all right, here we go. So this is a pack with the Baghead Spider-Man, right? And then the last one is the $20,000 Soulstone. All right, let's. Oh, wait. There it is. You go over there. Okay. Here we go. 2 packs to go. This and one more. The penultimate pack of our $4,000 Spider-Man opening. All right, Forest, Urban Retreat, fine, but not a banger. Spinner and Spiderling, not fine nor a banger. Grasping Tentacles, sure, whatever. Silk Guard, okay, and... Well, okay. Okay, it's not the Spider-Man, but Anti-Venom Horrifying Healer. It's a valuable card. We will take it. At least it's something. At least it's something. All right, here we go. I mean, this is our last shot. This is literally it. It all comes down to this. Can we hit one last big card to hopefully redeem some of this? Because right now, I'm feeling like we got wrecked value-wise. I'm feeling like we got super wrecked value-wise. Oh boy, Bear might not be eating for a few weeks. Okay, so how are we gonna do this? So this is, oh no. Well, okay, that's not gonna work with double face cards. All right. I was gonna do the traditional hot dog card. You go over there. I was gonna do the traditional face down thing, but double face cards ruined that plan. So I think I spoiled the ending a little bit. Swamp, Interdimensional Web Watch, Arachne Psionic Weaver. Okay, Eddie Brock. It is not foil. It's not foil, but that is a hit. Eddie Brock flipping over into Venom Lethal Protector in the comic book style. That's good. Mindbreak Trap, is that foil? It's not foil. I think Mindbreak Trap is still worth like $20 or something. The foil though is more expensive. And then last, but certainly, hey, all right. I mean, what other way would you end a $4,000 Spider-Man Collector Booster Box opening than by having the last card be, well, look at how those glasses shimmer and foil, then having the last card be the Amazing Spider-Man? Well, I will say, I am feeling right now, coming out of these boxes, like maybe our boxes were not amazing. 5 Collector Booster Boxes, around $4,000 of Collector Booster Boxes, 0 Soul Stones, 0 spectacular Spider-Man costume changes. We did hit some good, like, MDFCs, a few decent cards on the special sheet. My gut reaction is we got absolutely hammered on this one, that we just got absolutely wrecked. But I'm going to come up with some numbers, do my best to price out this stuff, and Future Seth will be back in a minute to wrap all this up. All right, Future Seth here. You can tell because Future Seth has clothes that are very ripped and torn and beat up, and that's because past Seth is the kind of idiot that would spend $4,000 on Spider-Man Collector Booster Boxes. This went about as bad as a box opening could go. So I was actually really excited for this box opening. Over on the main channel a few days ago, I made a video basically saying that I thought that Spider-Man was a bad set, and my criticisms of that set were all gameplay and set design related. It was not having the same cards on Arena as in paper. It was not being designed for a draft format. It was having 40 different versions of the same character, stuff like that. So I was actually really looking forward to this opening because I was hoping that my conclusion was going to be, okay, I don't think this set's very good from a gameplay perspective, but the set has a ton of cool cards. It's got a bunch of expensive cards, so even if it's not great for gameplay, it's really awesome to open. So that's what I was hoping would happen. But then we opened 5 boxes. They're $800 a piece right now, $4,000 of Spider-Man Collector Booster Boxers, and if you add everything together, guess how much value in Magic cards we got back out of those boxes? The answer is we got back $1,997, which means essentially we spent $4,000 on product and we got $2,000 in value, which I guess means we kind of lost $2,000 in about an hour of opening boxes, which I have never experienced before. If you go back to our Final Fantasy opening, I came away from that opening feeling like we got wrecked, and I actually went back and checked, and those boxes were like, one of them we lost $50, one of them we lost like $200. It wasn't good, but it was also nothing like this, and I knew things went off the rails with this opening as soon as I started pricing things out, literally on box 1, because if you go back to the beginning of the video, I remember saying, okay, I think box 1 is our best box. That's been our best box so far. Box 2, box 3, I don't think they're as good. So as soon as I started adding things up, and I saw that box 1 came in at negative $253, I knew that we were super screwed, and that's how it turned out. Box 1, negative 253, box 2, negative 507, box 3, negative 373, box 4, minus 442, box 5, minus 428. So we were consistently losing like half of the value that we paid or more on every box. And our good box, in the good box was a box where I think we opened 3 cards that were worth more than $100. We literally, outside of hitting the $800 super rare costume change Spider-Man cards, or like the $20,000 incredibly rare, like serialized card style rare, golden soul stone, we were opening the most expensive cards you can get in the entire set, and we still lost $250. If that is not enough to break even, I don't know how you can, outside of just literally opening something that's serialized card scarce or close to serialized card scarce. So if you add all this together, please do not buy Spider-Man boxes. Like, seriously. And this is not me saying this is like, don't buy it because I don't like the Spider-Man set. Whatever, spend your money however you want. From a financial perspective, from someone who wants to be able to pay their rent next month, don't buy these boxes because they are just not a good value proposition at $800. If they drop down to like $500, go ham, have fun, do whatever you want. I love the cool treatments. The cards looked amazing. The value's just not there out of an $800 booster box. So anyway, that's our Spider-Man booster box opening. Oh, it was a rough one. Of course, if you need any Spider-Man cards, what you should do is just head over to our sponsor, Card Kingdom, and pick up the singles you need. Anything we open today, you're going to be able to find on their website. So head over to cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish, pick up the singles you want, skip the booster boxes. And of course, if you need to sell some cards, and after how this opening went, I am definitely going to have to do this, you should go over to cardconduit.com/mtggoldfish. It's way easier than buy listing. So anyway, everyone, that's Spider-Man. That is how to lose $2,000 in about 55 minutes. And yeah, that's been our video for today. I hope you enjoyed watching me get absolutely wrecked. Please don't do this at home. It is really a bad idea. And I guess I'll be back for another one soon. So until then, everyone, have an amazing day, and I will talk to you soon. Magic's new never-rotating core set Foundations is finally here. Can we open some sweet Japanese showcase cards, maybe a super expensive fractured foil? Well, let's crack open some boxes and find out. Alright, so it is finally Foundations time, and I gotta say, I am super excited for this set. I've always loved core sets. I feel like core sets are just good for the game anyway, because they give us a place to reprint stuff that doesn't fit into other sets, but this one is especially sweet because the new cards are super sweet, the reprints are super sweet, plus it's not going to rotate like forever, so these cards are going to be important for Standard for a long time, and there's some really expensive stuff we can open, so gonna be interesting to see how this sets goes. So yeah, Foundations, booster number 1. Super curious how other people are interacting with this set. Are you picking up Foundation boxes? There is some expensive stuff. The biggest hits are, I think, Japanese showcase cards and the fractured foil versions in specific. Ooh, Vivian Emblem, looking good in foil. Not a ton at the lower rarity. Soulstone Sanctuary. I don't know if this card's good or not. A creature land that's all creature types, very powerful. Remaining a creature is a bit of a concern. Banner of Kinship. I feel like Banner of Kinship, at a minimum, going to be good for Commander. Kind of like a better coat of arms. Preposterous proportions. I feel like this card's just actively not good. I don't know, maybe make it work in a token deck, but without any evasion, I feel like +10/+10 to everything is not that. Foil, Liliana Dreadhorde General, looking good. I love this card. I don't know how good it'll be this time in Standard, but it is a very powerful Planeswalker. Mossborn Hydra. And, alright, down to the lower rarity stuff. So the big lower rarity hits, this might be worth a little something. Our new Blood Artist effect. I think the big lower rarity hit is the Heir Apparent, that you can play any number of rabbit common. That is by far the most valuable. And then I think the new Lava Spike is the Bolt Bend. It takes me a little while to remember all the card names, especially this set that's like, whoa, wow. Wow, look at that. Look at that. So that's not fractured foil, but That is a super sweet anime or Japanese Progenitus. That art looks so good. It looks so, look at it shimmer and foil. Man, what a card. We're gonna have to build a Progenitus deck in Standard and see see if we can make it work. It is a lot of mana. Oh, wow, that's even a better hit. Bloodthirsty Conqueror. Pretty sure this is the most expensive card in the set. As far as just, like, main set cards. I think this card might be good. Combo piece and a 5/5 flying body. You can do all the, like, Sanguine Bond, Exquisite Blood shenanigans. Plus, there's some combos with it in Standard. Black has so many random combos in Standard. Lunar Insight. Mudrotha, pretty popular commander. Curator of Destinies, Planes, and do we have any heir apparents? Do we have a heir apparent? Do we have no, no hairs. Well, that was a good pack. That was a really good pack. That Progenitus looks so good. I bet it would look even better in Fractured Foil. So what do you think of a core set that never rotates? Also, why is my mic dropping? There we go. All right, Mike, stay. I think it's a ghost. What do you think of a core set that never rotates? I've heard mixed things. I like that core sets are, ooh, new Elenda, Saint of Dusk, Azure Animist, Crystal Barricade. This is also, I think, the most expensive rare in the set. Give me yourself X-Proof. Not bad. And then the second ability, preventing all non-combat damage to creatures you control. Other creatures you control. Relevant against, like, Pyroclasm and stuff. I think this card at least will see sideboard play in Standard. Consuming Aberration. Sky Knight Squire. I feel like this card could be really good, too. Getting a +1/+1 counter whenever a creature enters, and not saying non-token, means that this can get super big, super fast. Something like Jeskai, Convoke, I think. Cool. I love all the reprints. This set's, like, very nostalgic. I feel like, so there's upsides and downsides, right, to a set being in Standard for 5 years. The downside is it might get boring after a while, that 4 years from now we're playing with the same cards, 5 years from now we're playing with the same cards. So that's the downside. The upside is it lets Wizards kind of lay a foundation for the format, right? We always know there's going to be some sort of reanimation, some sort of Blood Artist effect. Like, it just lets you build off of this set with future sets and hopefully make Standard. Wow, another one. Okay. Bloodthirsty Conqueror number 2. This is a pretty awesome box so far. The best Mythic in the set twice already in like 3 packs. Blasphemous Edict, also one of the better rares in the set. I feel like this is better than people think in Commander, and still, like, not insane. I think it's a good Wrath. It's a good Wrath. I do think getting 13 creatures to get the discount is going to be maybe more challenging than people think. Electro Duplicate. Wow, double. Apparently, we're going to be playing some... Blasphemous Edicts in the future, since we got 2 of them. A High-Fey Trickster, Island, Rexage. It's a nice looking treatment. I love some of the treatments on the reprints too. Like, Rexage, it's not a valuable card, right? It's been reprinted a bunch. It is a playable card though, in Commander and even in Modern a little bit, so nice to get a sweet art treatment on it. And that's one of the things I love about this set, is like, even the not super exciting cards are still like nostalgic. High Society Hunter. Oh, wait, is that? Oh, look at that. That foiling. Oh, wow. Wait, this has to be like Fractured Foil, right? I think. Look at those mana symbols. That has to be That's so cool looking. Unfortunately, it's a High Society Hunter, which I don't think is that great of a card, but the foiling, that's got to be some sort of special foil. I didn't think that was Fractured, but I don't know. Maybe that's Fractured Foil. Kiora, the Rising Tide. Another Crystal Barricade, looking good in Extended Border. 9 Lives Familiar, Preposterous Proportions. The squirrels will rule the world. Another Rexage, Meteor Golem. So yeah, I'm curious. Let me know in the comments. Like, so discounting the set and the cards in the set, which obviously there's some cool cards in the set, but what do you think of the impact on Standard? That's something I'm very curious about. If people are hyped for it or dreading it. Exemplar of Light. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on this creature, draw a card. This only triggers once per turn. Forming a 3/3 flyer. Could be okay in a... Wait, they don't all have that. Yeah, that's definitely... No mana symbols in that foiling. That's definitely... I don't think it's Fractured, though. New Goma. Extended. Archmage of Runes. This card I think is going to be super popular in Commander. Spell reduction and draw a card whenever you cast insert sorcery. No once per turn or anything. You pay 4 mana just for the... What is it, a 4 mana 2/2 Archmage Emeritus? Just for the card draw mode. So you pay 1 more mana, you get a 3/6 and a cost reduction on your spells. Flamelight Phoenix. Ah, man, it makes me wish we could go back to the original days of Hollow 1. Painful Quandary, already in Standard. Swifty, Dust Boots, Shivan Dragon. How the mighty have fallen. Hilariously, I don't know, you probably know this story if you've been playing Magic for a while. So Shivan Dragon, originally from Alpha, right? From the original Magic set. Back in its day, it was as expensive as Black Lotus. It was honestly a fair trade back in like 1993, 1994 to trade your Shivan Dragon for a Black Lotus. That would not be a ripoff. That was just a straight up fair trade. Now, Black Lotus sells for house money, and Shivan Dragon is an uncommon in Foundations. How the Magic world has changed over the past 30 years. Oh, Dragon, are these double-sided? Oh, they are, double Dragon. Okay, you get to choose your, oh, one's a 5/5, one's a 4/4. New Kaikar, foil extended. Itali Primal Storm, OG Itali. OG Itali is a cool card. Sylvan Scavenging, I'm not sure if this card's good or not. It does a lot when you're already doing a lot, but if you get Wrath or something and have nothing going on, it does much less. Homunculus Horde. Oh, so many flibble fibs. I guess they're just generic homunculi, but Galta Primal Hunger. Curious if Galta. Curious if this thing. Oh, speaking. So back in the day, going back to Alpha again. Back in Alpha, there was a card called Crawworm. That was like one of the biggest Timmy cards. Just a 6 mana green 6/4. Now, in Foundations, we get Quake Strider Ceratops, which is literally double his stats. A 12/8, just a vanilla 12/8 for 6 mana. And hilariously, it's still not going to see any play. It's still just bad. How big would a creature have to be? I think for just a vanilla creature to see play, we've seen a little bit of Multani and Yargle, right, see play, like, in very fringe situations. I think once a creature hits 20 power, then it's in the conversation, at least, just because of flings and so forth. Scrawling Crawler. I feel like this is actually one of the more valuable rares in the set. Quilled Great Worm. If you can keep this on the battlefield, it makes combat absolutely a nightmare. Another Homunculus Horde, Rune Scar Demon, the reprint, Seer Slicer Goblin. I feel like this is a good mono red card. The problem is mono red. Ooh, fancy a braid. The problem is mono red is more of like a pump spell deck, and that's not really a pump spell kind of card. So I'm not sure how good it's going to be in like the current standard versions of mono red. But I feel like it's a good card. We'll have to see. One of the most Blasphemous Edict, number 3 in foil, Leyline Axe. Was not expecting an equipment Leyline in this. That another banner again, Jip. New Alicia who laughs at fate. I feel like Alicia could also be pretty solid. It is annoying that it dies to cut down, and to shock, and to burst lightning. That is an issue, but if you make it to your end step in the right deck, even if you reanimate 1/2 drop, it's pretty good, and if it sticks around, it's really good. More tallies. Where's all of our hair appearance? We're getting 0 value and throwing around all of our lower rarity cards. What do we got? 3 more packs to go. I feel like this has already been a decent box, just based on hitting those the Mythic Vampire combo piece thing. Ooh, Shiny Rat. Leyline. Ooh, look at, is that? No. Wait, oh yeah, that's the, so this has got to be Fractured Foil, right? I thought Fractured Foil looked differently, but this mana symbol foiling, unfortunately. No, this can't be Fractured Foil. What is the traditional foil, Fractured Foil? Traditional foil. Oh, mana. Okay, 17 mana foil rare. Okay, this is mana foil. So it's not Fractured Foil. It's another special treatment, the mana symbols. Ooh, Twin Flame Tyrant. This is also part of that Mythic cycle. One of the most expensive cards. 5 mana, 3/5, double your damage. So it's actually like a 6/5. Seems reasonable and extended. Ton of Bones, Bobble Burster, and ooh, Kaido, new Kaido. Gonna have double Kaido in standard. Both caring about ninjas. Loot, new loot, Exuberant Explorer. I gotta say, and this might be controversial, I kinda dislike loot. I kind of dislike Lou. It feels so forced to me. It feels like Watsy decided they needed a Pikachu, and then they made Lou to be their Pikachu. But Pikachu wouldn't be Pikachu if it was intended to be Pikachu, right? It happened organically. I don't know. It feels weird to me. Loot feels weird. What is this card? Zolashar Lichlord. 2 mana 2/2. Ward to pay 2 life. Tap. Cast a zombie creature card from your graveyard this turn. The ward helps. It still dies to everything, but at least your opponent takes some damage. Another Alicia, another Sky Knight Squire, Scavenging Ooze. I feel like this should be reasonable in standard again. Slag Storm. 3 damage to each creature, 3 damage to each player. It is nice that you can hit face with Slag Storm, one of the upsides of Slag Storm compared to similar cards. Still no Hair Appearance. All right, one more pack. Can we get a Hair Apparent? Maybe the Hair Apparents are going to be rarer than I think. All right, last pack of box 1, Cat Token, Ashroot Animist. I feel like this could be a good card, it just doesn't really have a home. Another Soulstone Sanctuary, Celestial Armor, could see some Commander play. Man, a lot of banner kinships. Stop. I don't know if I'm happy this is returning to standard. The art is, wow, look at that weird foiling in the face. Is that a misprint? Wait, is that blue on the face normal? It's very noticeable in foil. It's gotta be intended. Hair Apparent. Can we get a Hair Apparent? Can we get a Llanowar Elves? I'm gonna be very curious as we go into box number 2. I'm gonna be very curious. Is green back in standard? So we got Llanowar, which is huge. We got Kolta, which is huge. Like, Wizards knows. They know that green has sucked in standard for 2 years and black has dominated. They're giving us some of the all-time best green cards. Like cards that should make green really good in standard. Is it going to be enough? That is the question. That is the question. All right, first pack of box 2. Ooh, Vivian Reed, looking nice in foil. I think they had pretty good Planeswalker selections. More Alicia's. Arabo, the First Fang. You're gonna be playing this one on a Commander Clash. I think I got a sneaky way to build this in Commander. I think actually, so it looks like a generic like Cat Tribal Commander, a Johnny. Might be good with Undead Slasher. Actually, just a one-shot kill with Undead Slasher, right? Double strike it, hit ya. Actually, I'd have to math it. I don't know if it's actually a one-shot kill, but it's pretty close. Draycatcher. And still no Hair Appearance. But I think that the new Arabo, I think it's actually a combo commander. But you're gonna have to watch Commander Clash in a couple weeks to see if the combo even works. But that's how I'm building Arabo, is as a commander, is a combo commander. Ooh, Kaido Emblem. And ooh, Alicia with the mana symbols. I wonder if the mana symbol foils, I don't know if they're, I know the fractured foils are worth a ton. I feel like the mana symbol foils probably worth more than normal foils, but I don't know if they're super expensive. New Niv Mizzet Visionary. No max hand size. Whenever Surge deals combat damage to an opponent, non-combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. That is actually kind of insane if you untap with it. Like Lightning Bolt turns into Ancestral. Whew, yeah. That seems pretty good. Spinner of Souls, 1,000 Year Storm. I love 1,000 Year Storm. 1,000 Year Storm's never good, but it is. That looks very interesting in foil. I actually like that land. The art's sweet. Youthful Valkyrie again. Bushwhack, Imprisoned on the Moon. Yeah, it'll be sweet to see the impact. But yeah, what do you think of Mono Green? Is Mono Green back? Or like, is the problem with Mono Green that the black removal is just too strong and it doesn't really matter how good they're wow. Wow. Wait. That is okay, these are super rare. So I think this is traditional foil. So this is Japanese showcase of the red Mythic Dragon we opened a minute ago. I know the fractured foil is like $300 or something. Not sure traditional foil. I still imagine, just based on how rare these are, especially in Japanese, because you get the English ones more often than Japanese and English boosters. I imagine this has got to be super expensive. I have no idea. I have no idea what it does. Well, I do because I know the card, but it doesn't really look like a Magic card. It looks like, I don't know, Digimon or something, but wow. What an open. What an open. Quill Great. What a pack. No, they're... Wow, there it is. Okay. There. Yes. Twin Flame Tyrant. 2-in-1 pack. Japanese showcase. Traditional foil. Pack foil. That might be like $100 pack, $200. We might have just paid for this entire box with that one pack. The only thing that would have made it better is if it had been a fractured foil. Fractured foil worth even more, but cannot complain. Cannot complain. Wow. Double dragon pack. How good do you think the dragon will be? The funny thing about the Mythic cycle, what is this? Sign of the Deep. What even makes that? Oh, the new Kiora. Seer Slicer Golem, Mossborn Hydra, Exemplar of Light, Sky Knight Squire. We got a lot of Blasphemous Edicts. So many Blasphemous Edicts. So many. So do you think the Mythic cycle is going to be good? They have very powerful static abilities, right? You're getting like Furnace of Wrath and Exquisite Bloods or Sanguine Mods. So they're very powerful, but they don't do anything right away. They are creatures that kind of need to sit out for a turn to really do their thing. A lot of Leyline Axes. I feel like Leyline Axe is probably not very good. It's cool that it can start on the battlefield, but when you actually think through how so many preposterous, I feel like we had this exact same pack before. Ooh, that's a nice Boots. That's going into Commander deck. That is a very nice version of Swiftfoot Boots. Belmore. We actually got to spoil that card forever ago. Belmore's like okay. It never caught on in Standard, but it's not the worst Spellslinger card. I feel like this box is already a winner just because of that one pack. This card's kind of out of order here. Sticking up a bit. All right, what do we get? Goblin. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, wow. Wait, is that fractured foil? Look at this down here. Why is that in the... Oh, that's just part of the art under the text box? So not fractured foil, but still. Kaido looking good. Soulstone Sanctuary, Lunar Insight, Jamon, Painful Quandary. Ooh, Hero's Downfall. So funny that when this card was first printed, so it's a decade ago, so much history in these packs. When Hero's Downfall was first printed in Theros, it was actually like a format-defining card, a jaw-dropping card, because Wizards didn't print Planeswalker removal. Like, that wasn't a thing. Like, for the first 5-6 years of Planeswalkers in Magic, they didn't believe in being able to just target them with a spell and kill them.